Rebuilding the Immortal Cultivation family. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 626 Lucky Star. Unfortunately, the spiritual realm is of great importance and it is not convenient to publicize it, so the number of people in the whole family who know the existence of the spiritual realm is no more than the number of 2 palms. In addition to Li Chengru, Zhang Fengwu and Li Deran who already knew about it, there are also several spiritual plant husbands, spiritual plant elders and internal affairs elders. Hello, ancestor. When Li Zhirui entered the spiritual realm, the spiritual plant husbands were working hard inside. After seeing him, they all stood up to greet him. Don't worry about me, you just do your own things. Li Zhirui waved his hand and walked slowly to the center of the spiritual realm, where the jade peach tree was planted. The peach tree, which was originally lush and green, seemed to have died in these years, with shriveled branches and difficult new buds. But Li Zhirui knew that this was the spiritual peach tree accumulating energy to break through the shackles and advance to spiritual roots. When I saw it today, I found that the spiritual plant was already moving towards the spiritual root. The speed is slow, but it is very solid. If nothing unexpected happens, the family will have one more spiritual root in the future. By then, the fruit produced by the jade peach spiritual root will certainly be more powerful, especially the jade peach that gathers the 5 elements, which may greatly increase the probability of breaking through the god transformation. In order to avoid the covetousness of others, Li Zhirui decided that he would not take out even an ordinary jade peach in the future. If someone with insight saw that this was a peach produced by a spiritual root, it would be a big trouble. In order to live a stable life, the danger was nipped in the bud. Don't worry about this peach tree, let it grow, Li Zhirui warned. The spiritual plant husbands knew the importance of the spiritual peach tree and would not disobey. If you encounter any unsolvable problems in spiritual planting, just come to me. In the eyes of outsiders, he was not proficient in spiritual planting, so they did not take his words to heart and just responded perfunctorily. Li Zhirui did not stay in the spiritual realm for too long and turned to leave. Time flies, and another year has passed in a trance. Li Zhirui came out of the alchemy room and found several communication talismans posted outside his door. He took them and activated them one by one. It turns out that the jade peach tree has successfully upgraded its spiritual roots. The content of these communication talismans is the same. Just half a month ago, the spiritual peach tree suddenly burst out with a terrifying whale-swallowing power. Fortunately, the spiritual energy in the spiritual realm is rich, enough for it to complete the upgrade. I have been refining the spiritual elixir for so long, so it's a good time to go out and relax and take a look at the jade peach spiritual roots. Soon, Li Zhirui walked in and saw the jade peach tree, which had changed drastically. The crown of the tree was like a canopy, the branches were vigorous and powerful, and a strong vitality was flowing inside. It seemed that there was a sense of intuition in the dark. As soon as he came into contact with the spiritual root, he knew the time when the jade peach was ripe and the effect. It will take at least 200 years to cultivate it. I have to wait. As for the effect, it has indeed increased several times. An ordinary jade peach can increase the mana of 30 years, while the 5 elements jade peach increases the probability of breaking through the god transformation by 10%. Don't look at it as only 10%, but it is already amazing. Moreover, you can take multiple 5 elements jade peaches, but the effect will be weakened and will not be directly superimposed. Unfortunately, the jade peach spiritual root is rooted in the spiritual realm and cannot be separated. Otherwise, if it can be transplanted into space, then he can use the spirit stone to accelerate and accumulate a large number of 5 elements jade peaches. When he breaks through the spirit transformation, he will definitely take it. Thinking of this, Li Zhirui couldn't help shaking his head and laughing. He was really greedy. With spiritual roots, he wanted to expect more. Maybe it was a lucky star. Not long after, Zhaoqing also welcomed a breakthrough. Compared with Diaqing's stability, Zhaoqing was a little risky. A series of sharp and swift wind blades cut the robbery thunder continuously, and were finally worn out by him, successfully becoming a 4th-level spirit beast. Zhaoqing's tribulation caused an uproar in the nearby land. Because just a few years ago, the Li family had a spirit beast that broke through the 4th level, and now there is another one who is crossing the Yuanying thunder tribulation. Whether this person is a cultivator or a spirit beast, It means that the strength of the Li family has reached a new level. With 4 nascent souls, plus the 4th order island protection formation and the cave spirit breaking formation, unless the god-transforming ancestor takes action, or the Xuanbing sect mobilizes most of its forces, don't think about destroying the Li family. For a time, the Li family was in the limelight. However, under the suppression of Li Zhirui, the Li family did not become arrogant, but became more low-key and humble, because the more he knew, the more he felt that the nascent soul was just like that. If you can't become a god, you will end up being an ant. So there is actually nothing to be proud of in becoming the overlord of a remote corner, central region, Wanjian sect. The ceremony is finally over. Li Zhirui breathed a sigh of relief. Although she didn't need to do those trivial matters, she was the protagonist after all. Even if she didn't take the initiative to ask, those people would come to ask her about various matters, which made her very irritated. Especially when Li Zhirui was crossing the Thunder Tribulation, she was extremely fierce and dared to take the initiative to attack the Thunder Tribulation, showing a very powerful swordsmanship, and finally survived successfully. Originally, her reputation in the hearts of the disciples had been declining with the passage of time. Because of this incident, her reputation once again became famous. Many disciples rushed to visit her and curry favor with her. Because the Wanjian sect stipulated that after breaking through the nascent soul stage, one can open a peak by himself and automatically become the peak master. Those disciples all wanted to compete for this title. After all, this was the closest to Li Zhirui. Maybe one day, she would get her favor and become her disciple. Unfortunately, their hopes were destined to be dashed, because she had no intention of opening a peak by herself. With her own teacher's 5th level spiritual mountain, Li Zhirui now looked down on the 4th level spiritual veins, not to mention that most of the spiritual mountains allocated to the peak masters were only 3rd level spiritual mountains. Ha. Seeing her like this, the old ancestor Wuxin couldn't help but laugh out loud, shaking his head and said, "Now that the matter has been completed, you can set off to return to the family, but don't hang around in the family for too long. After all, I don't have much time to stay in the lower world. I still need you to learn all my skills." "Yes, disciple knows." Li Zhirui nodded quickly. Li Zhirui traveled day and night, and it took more than half a year to return to Banyan Island. 9 brothers. "I'm back." Li Zhirui, who was instructing Li Chengsheng in his practice, heard this familiar voice and quickly stood up to open the door to greet him. "Zhirui, you have broken through to the nascent soul stage? It was just a lucky breakthrough." Li Zhirui smiled modestly. Ha. Li Zhirui laughed loudly. "In this way, my Li family has 5 nascent souls. Deking and Zhaoqing have also broken through." Li Zhirui reacted immediately, and then said apologetically, 9 brothers, I can't stay in the family in the future." Without avoiding Li Chengsheng beside her, she directly told Li Zhirui about her current identity and the trouble she had caused. Chapter 627 Separation. "Since you haven't revealed your identity, it's fine." Li Zhirui didn't care much about the trouble. Anyway, the sword sect didn't know Li Zhirui's true identity and wouldn't cause trouble for the Li family. And she was able to break through the nascent soul thanks to the sword sect elder. But Li Zhirui and Li Zhirui didn't know that before he took action, the Wuxin patriarch had already taken a fancy to Li Zhirui. With the guidance of a Huashan patriarch, it was not difficult for her to break through the nascent soul. Suddenly, Li Zhirui thought of Li Zhirui, who was persuaded by him to go out to find opportunities, and couldn't help but sigh and said, "Alice. It's fate." 9th brother, what's wrong? Li Zhirui asked with a puzzled look. Li Zhirui told Li Zhirui's experience and current situation. He didn't lament the reversal of their situations, but felt that Li Zhirui became an important figure in the Wanjian sect. It should be feasible to borrow a spiritual object from the Wanjian sect in advance, and the family will slowly repay it in the future. Of course, if this is done, Li Zhirui will owe a favor, and the family will definitely find a way to compensate her. But Li Zhirui has left Banyan Island now, and no one knows where she is. Even if she gets spiritual objects on credit, they are useless. After hearing this, Li Zhirui was slightly stunned. Has she surpassed Li Zhirui? She originally thought that she had never taken Li Zhirui seriously and had never compared herself with her, but now she understands that she has always been comparing herself with her. But when Li Zhirui heard about Li Zhirui's current situation, she was not happy at all, but a little sad, because she knew that she would never have such a goal and opponent to motivate her to move forward. Li Zhirui, who was sitting opposite, keenly noticed the change in her breath, and knew that Li Zhirui had untied this knot in her heart. He sighed secretly. As a bystander, he could see people more clearly than the two of them. Without continuing to talk about this matter, he asked, "You should live in the Wanjian sect in the future, right? Well, the master said that he will transcend the tribulation and ascend to heaven within 100 years, and he wants to pass on his life's learning to me as soon as possible." Li Zhirui was stunned. He thought she was just worshipping an ordinary master of transformation, but he didn't expect that he was a big boss who was about to ascend. He was more optimistic about Li Zhirui's future, and smiled and joked, "Maybe you will be the first person in the family to ascend to the upper realm, brother Jiu. Don't tease me, how can I compare with you?" She has always been very self-aware of herself, and Li Zhirui is far above her in terms of strength, cultivation, or talent and character. Things in the world are unpredictable, and everything is still unknown. Li Zhirui shook her head and said, "By the way, these sword talismans were refined by me after breaking through the nascent soul. Please help me give them to Shuer, brother Jiu." Li Chengsheng was beside him, so he could just give them to him directly, but Li Chengshuo was still practicing hard, so he had to ask someone to pass them on. "Are you going back now?" Li Zhirui accepted the sword talisman and frowned, saying, "You've been traveling all the way, stay in the family for a few more days." After all, Li Zhirui might rarely come back in the future. So he was not worried that she would forget the family. Li Zhirui could confidently say that as long as he was still alive, she would definitely have a place for the family in her heart. It was just that she felt that it was too hard for her to travel back and forth, and even for a Yuanying cultivator, the consumption was very huge. "Master is about to ascend, and I haven't learned his skills yet." Hearing this, Li Zhirui couldn't keep her anymore. "Then be careful on your way back." Then, he took out the top-grade 4th-level treasure pill from his arms and said, "The quality of these treasure pills is not bad, and they can be used to replenish your mana on the way." "Okay." Li Zhirui happily accepted it, thought about it, and took out a few jade slips from his arms. "Brother Jiu, these are my previous cultivation methods, insights, and experiences." Because it did not involve the inheritance of the Wanjian sect, it was her own thing, so giving it to the family did not violate the sect rules. She also knew that the family had selected some members every year to practice other skills besides the Wanling Sutra in recent years to prevent any accidents. Although the skill she practiced before, the 9 Killing Sword Sutra, was incomplete, it was of high quality and could be practiced directly to the middle stage of the nascent soul, which was enough to satisfy the family. "Then take care of yourself, and come back to the family when you have time." Li Zhirui didn't need to say more. After all, if Li Zhirui couldn't solve the problem, the family would be even more helpless. The Wanjian sect and the Li family were separated by more than 10,000 miles. Even the Wanli communication talisman could not contact each other, and it would be difficult to meet again in the future. "Ninth brother, take care of yourself too. The family has developed very well. You should focus more on your own cultivation. After all, the higher your strength, the better the family will be." Such a simple truth? How could Li Zhirui not understand that he was very concerned about the family, but he never neglected his own cultivation? "Don't worry, I know everything, then I'll leave." This time when Li Zhirui returned to the family, she did not alarm any of the family members, and only Li Zhirui and Li Chengsheng saw her, and the same was true when she left. Li Zhirui stood there, watching her flying on the sword, and disappeared in a breath, muttering, "I wonder if there will be a day to see her again in the future." "Dad, when the family is promoted to divine power in the future, and the whole family moves to the central region, won't it be easy to see Aunt Zhixun again?" Li Chengsheng said with a long tone. "It's difficult. The difficulty of divine power is as difficult as ascending to heaven." Li Zhirui shook his head and sighed. "Moreover, even if the Li family becomes a divine power family, that is, there are many divine ancestors, want to move to the central region? The hope is also very slim. The 3 top forces in the eastern region, the Wuxiang sect, the Xianyang sect, and the Jian sect, all of which have several divine ancestors on the surface, are still staying in the eastern region and have never gone to the central region. Do they not want to? That is naturally impossible. The central region has rich spiritual energy and abundant natural treasures. It is also the place where the luck of this world gathers. Even breaking through is easier than in other major regions. Is it because of the spiritual veins, spiritual objects, spiritual realms, secret realms and other external objects that have tripped you up? But Li Zhirui knows several methods to move these things, not to mention those top forces. It is because the existing sects in the central region do not allow new forces to enter. Because one more force will require thousands of more cultivators, and these people will not only dilute the spiritual energy, but also the luck. The spiritual energy is easy to say, and it doesn't matter if it is diluted a little. Anyway, if high-level cultivators want to break through, they rely on comprehending the laws of heaven to improve their realm, and their mana is also increased by swallowing spiritual objects. After all, if they only rely on absorbing spiritual energy, it will take a lot of time and energy, which is not cost-effective. But luck is different, because its total amount is so much, and if you get one more, others will get one less. Therefore, the major forces in the central region do not refuse cultivators from other regions to go there for training, because they are just rootless duckweed and cannot dilute the luck. But no big forces are allowed to move in. Chapter 628 Preparation. Luck is mysterious and has many uses. The simplest one, which is also known by the world, is to turn misfortune into blessing and influence fortune in disaster. Who would be willing to share such a good thing with one more person? Unless your strength is strong enough to resist the major forces in the central region, it is possible to enter the central region. As for dealing with some weak forces and replacing their positions, they have been in the central region for many years. Even if they are weak, they are intertwined and difficult to deal with. Maybe a top force will be involved. It's still too far to become a god. The most important thing for you now is to break through the late giant and enhance your own strength. Li Zhirui came back to his senses and reminded. Dad, is it because the 10,000 immortal secret realm is about to open? Li Zhirui nodded and said, yes, it will open in more than 10 years. This time is not short or long. Generally speaking, Li Chengsheng still has great hope to break through the late giant during this period. Li Chengshuo may be a little reluctant, but if she can keep practicing as hard as she is now, she may not have no chance. Apart from my sister and I, are there any other members of the family who will enter the mysterious realm of 10,000 immortals this time? Li Chengsheng never paid attention to the affairs of the family. When he was on the mysterious island of 10,000 immortals, he would only stay in the cave and the Spirit Beast mountain range. Unless he was forced to call a meeting, he would not even enter the family hall. There is also a member of the family named Li Zhirui. Like you, he has both different spiritual roots, and he is also a Zunfeng spiritual body. He practices the Taiyi Zunfeng Daojing. Because it fits with it, his practice speed is comparable to that of a person with a heavenly spiritual root. Before the secret realm opens, he should be able to break through to the middle stage of the golden core. 2 years before the secret realm opens, I will personally take you to the central region, and then I will introduce the secret realm to you. As for Li Mingyao, who has a heavenly spiritual root, he has practiced for too short a time. Even if he is gifted and practices at an incredibly fast speed, it is impossible for him to achieve the golden core in just 20 to 30 years. In addition, for future considerations, Li Zhirui also specifically asked him to polish his magic power and strengthen his foundation. The other giant and clan members, their age did not meet the threshold for entering the 10,000 immortals secret realm 100-year-old giant, so there was no way to enter. Come with me to place now. After saying that, Li Zhirui turned around and returned to the clan, followed by Li Chengsheng. In just a moment, the two arrived in front of a cave. Li Chengsheng stepped forward and knocked on the door. After a moment, Li Zhirui opened it from the inside. Seeing the visitor, he hurriedly greeted. Li Zhirui greets the ancestor. I'm going to delay you for a while, no matter what the ancestor says, even if it takes my life, I will do it. Li Zhirui laughed dumbly and said, it's not that dangerous, I'm just taking you to a place, come with me. The three of them soon arrived outside the spiritual realm. However, this place has been covered and defended by Jiang Fengwu with a formation. No matter how hard Li Chengsheng and Li Zhirui from the outside world try, they can only see a bare scene. Dad, is there anything here? He was really confused and couldn't see what was different here. Follow me. Li Zhirui did not explain, but took him directly into the spiritual realm. This is the spiritual realm? Li Chengsheng's face was filled with deep shock, thinking that this was too fantastic, because the spiritual realm could only be opened up by the ancestors of the transformation of the spirit. Li Zhirui, who was standing aside, looked at Li Zhirui with even more respect. Could it be? Dad, you are already a transformation of the spirit? Li Zhirui laughed. If it was really so easy to break through, that would be great, and breaking through the transformation of the spirit was a great joy. Why did he hide his strength? Then he told him the origin of the spiritual realm. Incredible. It turns out that Mother is also so talented. Before the secret realm of the 10,000 immortals is opened, you should stay in the spiritual realm and concentrate on practicing. If you have any needs, just say it, and the family will do its best to meet you. In order to enhance their strength and self-protection ability, the family has made a lot of preparations, and even the spiritual realm is open to them. Of course, the family also has requirements. After they enter the stone tower, half of the spiritual objects they obtain must obey the command of the family and cannot be exchanged by themselves. Where's my sister? When she comes out of seclusion, I will bring her in. At last, Li Zhirui said with a serious look, remember, the spiritual realm is of great importance. No information can be leaked, otherwise it will bring great trouble to the family. Yes, Dad and sister, don't worry, we will keep it a secret. Well, then you should practice well. After that, Li Zhirui left. Wangxiang sect, Wankui Peak. Wei Ningchen knelt in front of an old man who closed his eyes and pretended to sleep, and said, Master, I fell in love with a woman and want to be her Taoist partner. Talk to me, the old man asked calmly. I met Miss Cheng Shuo in a second-level secret realm. After just this one time, I fell deeply in love with her. I originally thought that we were not destined to be together, but I didn't expect that many years later, we would meet again at the Xuanfa Pavilion Grand Auction. Wei Ningchen had a happy smile on his face. It was obvious that he liked Li Cheng Shuo from the bottom of his heart. He said, I hope the teacher will help me. The old man frowned slightly. In fact, he had long known that his disciple had fallen in love with a daughter of the nascent soul, and even knew that she had a special Cheyenne spirit body. With his status, of course, he disdained to calculate such a little kid. The gap between the two families was too big, and he didn't care. He planned to let nature take its course. After all, whether their skills were broken or not would not affect their skills. It was so difficult to marry a Taoist partner who met his heart and was in love with each other. It was also his luck that Wei Ningchen was able to meet him. But after seeing his expression and performance today, the old man changed his mind a little, because he felt that this might not be love, but a love disaster, which made people unconsciously sink into it and finally destroyed their Taoist heart. However, the old man did not refuse immediately. If Wei Ningchen got deeper and deeper into trouble, it would be a case of good intentions leading to bad results. Instead, he said, the 10,000 Immortals secret realm is about to open. You have to work hard to hone your magic power. The disciples who enter the secret realm will still depend on you. Wei Ningchen was eager to marry Li Chengxiu, but his teacher didn't seem to be happy about it. However, the 10,000 Immortals secret realm was indeed important. After all, a person could only enter it once in his life, and the conditions were so strict. There were many opportunities, so he really couldn't miss it. Disciple, obey your order. But I want to go to the Li family and explain this matter to Shuer, so that she won't misunderstand, Wei Ningchen said earnestly. The old man stared at him for a while, then nodded slowly and said, come back early and don't stay outside for too long. Chapter 629 Test. A month later, after a long journey, Wei Ningchen finally arrived at Banyan Island. Is this the clan land of the Li family? Wei Ningchen stood in the sky and looked down. He saw that there were mountains piled up on the east, south and north sides of Banyan Island, and there was a narrow passage every 100 miles. This was a layout specially created to prevent the tide of sea beasts. It can reduce the pressure and casualties of the clan members to the greatest extent and hunt water monsters easily. Inside the island, it is all plains. Only near the middle, there are two mountain ranges of hundreds of miles. Even at such a long distance, you can feel the vitality. The two mountain ranges are the Spirit Beast Mountain Range and the Spirit Medicine Mountain Range, which are extremely important territories of the Li family. In the center of the island, there is a towering mountain with many figures running on it. This mountain is called Wanling Mountain, which is the residence of all the clan members of the Li family. The only fourth-level spiritual vein of the Li family is in this mountain. The higher you live, the richer the spiritual energy between heaven and earth will be. A few years ago, the Li family buried millions of spiritual stones deep in the Spiritual Medicine Mountain Range. Its spiritual veins are slowly absorbing it. In a dozen years, it will be able to successfully advance to the fourth level. The Wanling Mountain is divided into 4 layers according to the level of cultivation, and each layer is divided into 3 small levels. It is stipulated that the clansmen move into the corresponding place according to their cultivation. In order to maintain fairness, no matter whether there are direct relatives with higher cultivation or not, they cannot cross the level. Unless they are breaking through a great realm and need a more spiritual and rich environment, they are allowed to move up one level. Of course, there is no complete fairness in the world. For example, Li Chengsheng and Li Chengshu, even if they can only practice on the third level, but with the elixir given by Li Zhirui, the external environment is not so important. The reason for setting such a rule is mainly to give those children from the secular clansmen a slightly wider way to move up. It is completely different from the pattern of the sect. With Wei Ningzhen's vision, it is natural to see that Banyan Island was transformed by acquired factors, but it is also in line with the position of the Li family. Then he descended and stood in mid-air outside Banyan Island, saying loudly, Wei Ningzhen, a disciple of Wangxiang sect, comes to pay his respects to Senior Li Zhirui. With a blessing of magic power, the voice rolled like waves and spread into the interior of Banyan Island. Wangxiang sect, isn't that the largest sect in the eastern region? Why did you suddenly come to visit the ancestor? I don't know whether the visitor is good or evil. Go and inform the clan leader, and let him decide. Wei Ningzhen's voice also alarmed the clan members who were patrolling outside. One by one, they flew towards him with birds, looking at him with cold eyes. The leader was also a giant and cultivator. As the number of giant and clan members of the Li family increased, the pressure of insufficient manpower in all aspects of the family was greatly alleviated. Several Jinden were arranged for the more important patrol teams. I wonder why you are visiting the ancestor. Wei Ningzhen did not take the visitor seriously. Although they were both Jinden, their strength was not a little bit inferior. He maintained the arrogance of a famous sect and said, I have something important to report. Really? Li Daong saw that he didn't want to say more, so he didn't dare to continue asking, because he could feel the huge threat from the other party. As long as he kept a good eye on the other party before others came. After hearing the news, Li Daong immediately sent a message to Li Zhirui. Why is Wei Ningzhen here? Could it be that he came early? Li Zhirui frowned after receiving the news. But he still asked someone to go out and take him to the reception room. Hello, senior. Li Zhirui waved his hand to let him sit down, and asked directly, why are you here this time? I want to see Sister Shu'er and tell her something, Wei Ningzhen said nervously. Even if the old ancestor of Hushan was in front of him, his mood would not fluctuate, but at this time under the gaze of Li Zhirui, he was a little broken. Shu'er is in seclusion. This, Wei Ningzhen didn't think Li Zhirui was lying to him. After all, there was no need for that. But how should he explain this to Li Changshu? You know, they had an agreement before they separated, that they had to come and say it regardless of whether their master agreed or not. Do you have anything to say to Shu'er? If it's convenient, I can help you pass it on. As of now, Wei Ningzhen is the best person for Shu'er to entrust his life to, and they both have feelings for each other. So Li Zhirui doesn't mind helping them. Okay, then I'll trouble you, senior. Thinking of the master's instructions before leaving, Wei Ningzhen didn't want to stay outside for too long. Then he took out a jade slip and recorded what he wanted to say and the reasons in it. Trouble you, senior. Wei Ningzhen stood up and saluted, saying, Junior won't bother you anymore. Li Zhirui nodded slightly, turned his hand and put away the jade slip, so that he wouldn't peek at the content. Just as Wei Ningzhen was about to leave the reception room, Zhang Fengwu suddenly rushed over and blocked his way. Zhirui, is he the one pursuing that brat Shu'er? Zhang Fengwu frowned and looked Wei Ningzhen up and down, his eyes full of disgust and dislike. Li Zhirui was helpless, but she still knew about it, so he could only introduce the two to each other. Yes, this is Wei Ningzhen, the disciple of the old ancestor of the One Kui Peak of the Wangxiang sect. This is my Taoist partner, Shu'er's mother Zhang Fengwu. Wei Ningzhen hurriedly bowed and said, Junior greets Senior Zhang. I dare not accept such a great gift. Wei Ningzhen's face froze. He never thought that Shu'er's mother would dislike him so much. Fengwu, what are you doing? Li Zhirui saw this and quickly spoke to ease the situation. Didn't you like Ningzhen before? You even said you wanted to test him. Humph. Zhang Fengwu glared at him and said, I had some insight some time ago and created a formation. Senior Zhang is indeed a brilliant and talented person. I admire him very much. Flower talk. Zhang Fengwu still had a cold face and said, Don't think that I will lower the difficulty if you say a few nice words. Wei Ningzhen's face changed slightly. He was flattering her and hit the horse's hoof. He didn't dare to speak any more, lest he make her more disgusted. Li Zhirui on the side couldn't help but shook his head and laughed in his heart. Wei Ningchen looked calm and self-sustaining, but now he was confused. At the same time, he also knew what Zhang Fengwu had been doing in the past few years. In order to test Wei Ningchen, he actually took the trouble to create a formation and said that he had some insights by chance. However, in front of outsiders, he had to protect Zhang Fengwu's face, so he stood aside and let the two of them talk. Moreover, Li Zhirui was quite curious about the formation she created. Looking at her confident look, he knew that this formation was definitely not simple. Chapter 630, Conscience. Zhang Fengwu stared at Wei Ningchen and said, "If you can pass my test, I will no longer prevent you and Shu'er from becoming Taoist couples. Please teach me, senior." Wei Ningchen was refreshed when he heard this. He was very confident in his strength, character, Taoism, and feelings for Li Changshuo. He believed that he could definitely satisfy Zhang Fengwu. Zhang Fengwu looked at him deeply and said, "Wait for half an hour." After that, the whole person floated away. "Sit and wait. You can also take this time to recover your condition." Li Zhirui didn't want Wei Ningchen to fail. Although he didn't know what the formation created by Zhang Fengwu was, she spent a lot of effort to deduce it and asked the family to buy high-level spiritual objects. It would not be simple no matter how you looked at it. If Wei Ningchen was not careful, he might capsize in the ditch. "Thank you for your advice, senior." Li Zhirui nodded without saying anything. The living room suddenly became quiet. Half an hour passed quickly, and Zhang Fengwu arrived almost on time. As soon as she came in, she said, "Come with me." "Yes." Wei Ningchen opened his eyes and followed her calmly. Li Zhirui thought about it and followed him. He was really curious about what kind of formation Zhang Fengwu would use to test Wei Ningchen. But in a moment, the three of them arrived at a valley somewhere on Banyan Island. As soon as Li Zhirui stepped into it, he noticed the mystery of this place. A gleam of light flashed in his eyes, and he thought to himself, Fengwu is determined to embarrass this kid. Although he had never learned formations and knew very little about geomancers, his soul was strong enough to keenly sense that the feng shui pattern of this valley was extraordinary, which complemented the formation and helped each other. "I am afraid that it would increase the power of the formation by several percent." Li Zhirui looked at Zhang Fengwu with some curiosity. When did she learn the methods of geomancers? He, the man next to him, knew nothing about it. "This fourth-level formation is the result of my sudden inspiration. Do you dare to break it?" Zhang Fengwu ignored his scrutiny and turned to Wei Ningchen. "Senior, please don't underestimate me. In that case, then enter the formation." Zhang Fengwu waved his hand calmly and separated the formation to let Wei Ningchen in. Li Zhirui next to him asked curiously, "Fengwu, what formation is this?" The red dust questioning heart formation. "It is an illusion formation comparable to the illusion of the heart demon. It can pull people into the illusion without knowing it." Zhang Fengwu smiled proudly and said, "Moreover, I can see Wei Ningchen's performance in the other party's illusion, and then determine whether he is suitable for Shu'er." Li Zhirui raised his eyebrows. "Is it that powerful?" Seeing his disbelief, she was too lazy to explain and said, "Just wait and see." Zhang Fengwu was so confident for a reason, that is, she used herself as an experiment and entered the formation to experience its power firsthand. Compared to the previous heart demon tribulation, she felt that it was on par. Because he didn't know what type of formation this was, Wei Ningchen was very alert at first, but suddenly his eyes went dark and he passed out. When he came to, he vaguely saw Li Changshuo beside him, holding a jade bowl in his slender jade hands, with a worried look between his eyebrows. "Shu'er, Brother Chen. You finally woke up," a joyful and surprised voice sounded. "What happened to me?" In a trance, he seemed to remember that he was ambushed and almost lost his life. "You are seriously injured. I told you to be careful before, but you just didn't take it seriously. Are you okay now?" Wei Ningchen smiled a little embarrassedly and said, "I was careless and didn't listen to you. I apologize to Shu'er, but after this, I have a chance. It won't be long before I can break through." "Really? When have I ever lied to Sister Shu'er?" Li Changshuo looked at him with great joy, with a strong and irreconcilable love in his eyes. Wei Ningchen was so happy that he indulged in it willingly. Time passed day by day, and Wei Ningchen didn't realize that this was an illusion at all. He had completely integrated into it. After a period of hard practice, he finally came to a successful breakthrough and successfully came out of seclusion. To celebrate his breakthrough, the two of them lingered that night. When they were happy, A pure and mysterious power entered Wei Ningchen's body, improving his cultivation at a speed visible to the naked eye. He closed his eyes to enjoy it, and even felt that the speed was a bit slow, which accelerated the absorption speed. No, suddenly, Wei Ningchen's body froze, as if he had just woken up from a dream, and he said, "What a powerful illusion array. I didn't feel anything before. If it wasn't for the illusion that he actually took Li Changshuo's energy and violated his wishes, he would probably still be immersed in it." Crack, Wei Ningchen broke the array, and several array flags showed signs of cracking, and were finally collected by Jiang Fengwu. His performance in the illusion was all seen by Jiang Fengwu, who was looking at him silently at this time and said, "Not bad, I recognize you." It can be seen that Wei Ningchen refused to take energy from the bottom of his heart, otherwise he would not have woken up so quickly. "Thank you for showing mercy, senior." Wei Ningchen restrained his arrogance and acted approachable, just to please her. Jiang Fengwu shook her head and said nothing. She didn't show any mercy at all. Not only did she not show any mercy, she also tried her best to enhance the power of the array. But she didn't expect that even after all this, he still broke through the big array. "Wei boy, it's getting late, you should go back." Li Zhirui didn't want to let him stay in the clan land for a night. After all, he was not Li Changshuo's Taoist partner yet. Even if he was recognized by the two of them, it was not without surprises. Maybe his master would not agree? So he drove him away without hesitation. "Two seniors, goodbye." After Wei Ningchen left, Li Zhirui asked curiously, "How did he perform in the illusion?" "See for yourself." Jiang Fengwu projected his performance with an illusion, and then turned and left. Not long after, the illusion dissipated, and Li Zhirui smiled and said, "Good boy, luckily I didn't make a mistake about you. Are you back?" Wan Kui Peak, the ancestor of Hushan, looked at the dusty Wei Ningchen, narrowed his eyes, and asked, "Why? Her parents don't like you?" "No, it's just that my sister Shuer is in seclusion, and I didn't see her in person, so I was a little disappointed." As he said that, he couldn't help laughing, and said, "And I'm sorry to disappoint master, those two seniors are quite satisfied with me, and I have passed their tests." This is a great joyous event. With the approval of his future father-in-law and mother-in-law, his long journey to pursue his wife is about to come to an end. "Then have you ever thought that I don't agree with you marrying that girl?" the old man said in a flat tone. Chapter 631 Resistance. Hearing this, Wei Ningchen's eyes widened instantly, and he asked in disbelief, "Master, why? Shuer is a very good person, and her aptitude is not bad. She can definitely accompany me all the way." He really couldn't figure out why his master disagreed. No matter from which aspect, he was not the one who suffered a loss when the two of them became Taoist couples. Look at you now. Deep in love. Do you know that it is difficult to overcome the emotional tribulation? The old man's face was more serious than ever, and he shouted sternly. "Why do I have to overcome the emotional tribulation? Shuer and I are happy with each other, and it's not one-sided. If we can't get it, it won't affect our state of mind at all," Wei Ningchen said with a firm face. "But if master is forcing us to break up the couple, this is the real emotional tribulation." This was the first time he had such a tough conversation with his master, but for the sake of his beloved, he didn't care even if it was a bit presumptuous. Okay, the old man laughed in anger and said coldly, "What a happy relationship. Then let me see how long your relationship with her can last. I hope you will think of this day in the future and don't regret it. You can be a Taoist partner with Li Changshuo, but you can't bring her into the Wangxiang sect. I will not admit that she is my disciple's wife." After saying that, he stood up with an indifferent expression and left with his sleeves. "Thank you, master, for your help." Wei Ningchen bowed to the old man's back. Even if he didn't get the blessing of the master, even if he couldn't bring Shuer into the Wangxiang sect, he would accompany her for life. Banyan Island. Your mortal heart-searching formation is really powerful. It can even temper my state of mind. Li Zhirui opened his eyes, full of amazement. You know, he is most confident in his Tao heart, and ordinary illusions will not affect him at all, but the heart-searching formation created by Jiang Fengwu can make him indulge in it, and he can't get out of it for a while. At the same time, it once again proves that Wei Ningchen's friendship with Li Changshuo is absolutely from the heart and sincere. Of course, Jiang Fengwu raised his head slightly, looking very proud. Why don't you leave the formation here and let the tribesmen come to try it out to improve their state of mind? The reason why Li Zhirui wanted to do this was that he hoped to use the formation to allow more tribesmen to break through the Jinden. In fact, With Xian King Dan and Jinzi Dan, the difficulty of the Giant and Thunder Tribulation has been reduced a lot. As long as the tribesmen have a solid foundation and relatively strong magic power, there is a great probability that they will successfully pass the Thunder Tribulation. So why is the probability of failure still so high? The main reason is that many tribesmen may not have gone out to experience much since birth, and their willpower is not strong enough. It is easy to fall into the illusion of the heart demon and be bewitched by the heart demon, which leads to the failure of the tribulation. There are other reasons, such as luck, karma, etc., but they are rare. The appearance of the red dust questioning formation makes up for this shortcoming and deficiency very well. Just let the family give me the spirit stone. Jiang Fengwu didn't care about it. Because the purpose of her creation of this array, to test Wei Ningzhen's feelings for Li Changshu, has been accomplished. Li Zhirui nodded, and he would go to discuss it with the clan leader Li Daren later. This matter has finally come to an end, and I can practice in seclusion with peace of mind, Jiang Fengwu sighed. She had not been in seclusion before because she was worried about missing Wei Ningzhen's arrival and not having time to test him. Just rest assured to practice in seclusion. I will take care of the family's affairs. That night, the two of them were in Wushan, entangled in the rain and rain all night. The next day, they were not tired at all, but more energetic, and even their cultivation improved. This is the beauty of dual cultivation. Of course, this kind of thing should not be too much, otherwise why bother to practice hard to understand the Tao? Just practice dual cultivation every day and you can ascend to the upper realm. Watching Jiang Fengwu enter the quiet room, Li Zhirui told Li Daren about the questioning array, and then soon got hundreds of thousands of purchase fees from the family. As the saying goes, the wool comes from the sheep. Therefore, when the clan members use the questioning hard array, they need to pay a little spiritual stone, which not only recovers the cost, but also makes a small profit. In addition to daily practice, Li Zhirui himself occasionally takes time to refine a few furnaces of spiritual pills and precious pills, or instructs the younger generations in practice. A few months later, Li Changshu came out of retreat, and he was still a long way from the late stage of the golden elixir. It is unknown whether he can successfully break through before the opening of the 10,000 Immortals' secret realm. Sure, this is what Wei Ningzhen asked me to pass on to you. When she came to visit Li Zhirui, she handed the jade slip to her directly. There was not much content, only saying that before the opening of the 10,000 Immortals' secret realm, he had to concentrate on practicing and strengthening his strength. He could not become a Taoist partner with her during this period. He hoped that Li Changshu would forgive him and promised to give her a huge surprise after the secret realm ended. Li Zhirui sat opposite her, observing the changes in her expression, from the initial expectation, gradually turning into failure, and finally becoming a smiling face with beautiful vision. Did Mom embarrass Brother Chen? Li Changshu suddenly thought of Jiang Fengwu's attitude towards the two of them, and asked a little nervously. It's a dilemma. Li Zhirui looked at her worried look and sighed helplessly in his heart. It's true that a girl can't be kept when she grows up. But that boy performed well and passed Fengwu's test, so she won't stop you two from being together now, really? That's great, Li Changshu shouted excitedly. Okay, Li Zhirui interrupted her joy in a deep voice and said, the 10,000 Immortals' secret realm is about to open. Your current task is to go all out to improve your strength. Don't think about marrying that stinky boy. He didn't look at the jade slip, and this request was made by Jiang Fengwu before Wei Ningzhen left, in the hope of saving his life in the dangerous secret realm. Although there are no monsters in the 10,000 Immortals' secret realm, there is only a stone tower. But the journey before entering the trial stone tower is full of deadly dangers. But I didn't expect that the master of Wankui Peak also planned this way. Dad, don't worry, I will do my best to break through the late Jiandan, Li Changshu promised solemnly. She was still thinking about meeting Wei Ningzhen before entering the secret realm. Then come with me, I'll take you to a place. Soon, the two entered the spiritual realm. Li Changshu felt the rich and pure spiritual energy inside, and her confidence increased all of a sudden. In such an environment, she would definitely be able to break through. You three can practice in the spiritual realm with peace of mind. Every other year, I will come in to guide you and give you some elixirs, but you don't have to force it. Everything should be based on your own practice, Li Zhirui urged. Yes, Dad and Sister, don't worry, the three responded in unison. Practice well. After that, Li Zhirui flashed away. Chapter 632 Shock. Xuanbing Sect, In the main hall of the sect master, "Does your idea really work?" an elder asked uneasily. Of course, the master was very confident in his own strategy and said with a smile, "Those mortals are as weak as ants, but they have also created a splendid and colorful culture and left behind a very valuable wealth. I learned this strategy from a certain emperor of a fallen country. If Li Zhirui was here, he would definitely react immediately. Isn't this a means of playing tricks on the princes? Spreading false news again and again to play tricks on the demons, consuming their patience, and finally suddenly doing it for real. How many of those 4th level demons will believe the informant's words? Even if they believe it, they still need a certain amount of organization time, otherwise only a few or a dozen will come, and Xuanbing's sect can completely stop them all. And if this time is longer, maybe the thunder tribulation of my uncle will be over. By then, Xuanbing's sect will be the only ruler of the corner of the Far East. All the immortal forces will surrender." Thinking of such a beautiful future, which will be realized in his own hands, and he will become the 3rd person after the founder and the revivalist, the head of the sect could not help but smile brightly. There were still a few elders who were still skeptical about this method, but seeing the head of the sect's reaction, they immediately gave up the idea of speaking. Since no one has any objections, let's deliberately spread the news. A sharp cold light flashed in the head of the sect's eyes. Let me see how many monsters can be blown up. Ding ding ding, an unusually rapid bell sounded, waking up Li Zhirui, who was practicing. Fortunately, his cultivation is now high enough, and his control magic power is even more in his heart. When there is a riot, he will react immediately to suppress it. What's the big deal? As soon as Li Zhirui calmed down the fluctuations of magic power in his body, he flew out and opened the courtyard door. What came into view was Li Zhirui with an anxious face. "Ancestor, it's bad. I heard that Xuanbing's sect has a nascent soul true lord who is about to pass the tribulation and impact the god transformation realm." The reason why he was so anxious was that Xuanbing's sect had always had some ill intentions towards the Li family. In the past, it might have been just some small actions, but if a god transformation realm was born, the Li family would probably have to pay a huge price and surrender to the emperor in order to save themselves. What? Li Zhirui's face changed, and he asked hurriedly, "Are you telling the truth?" According to the news sent back by the family's secret line, it is said that many cultivators in Xuanbing's sect have already known about it. Hearing this, Li Zhirui couldn't help but frown. If Xuanbing's sect really had a nascent soul breakthrough, it should be kept secret. After all, the demon clans on both sides would never agree that the mortal enemy Xuanbing's sect had a god transformation ancestor. Could it be that this was deliberately released by Xuanbing's sect, intending to take the opportunity to ambush and kill a group of demon clans? This matter must be paid attention to at all times. Once there is accurate information, report it to the family immediately, Li Zhirui ordered with a solemn expression. This matter concerns the future development of the family, and even the survival of the family. It is not too much to worry about it. Yes, I will make proper arrangements. After saying that, Li Zhirui hurried away with an anxious look. And Li Zhirui couldn't calm down to practice because of this news. He simply sat cross-legged on the futon and brainstormed to think about the impact of this matter on the family. If Xuanbing's sect really has a breakthrough in the nascent soul, then it can be divided into 2 situations, success and failure. Among them, the failure of the tribulation does not need to be considered, and the situation will not change at all. Because the current strength of the Li family is still too much behind Xuanbing's sect, one more or one less nascent soul cultivator will not make the slightest difference. But if the tribulation is successful, for the family, there can be 2 situations. One is that Xuanbing's sect will not take action against the family. As long as they hand over enough loyalty and surrender, the Li family will continue to exist, but will become a vassal again. The other is that they will take action against the family, and the strength of the 2 sides is extremely different. If they don't want to be destroyed, they have only the only choice of abandoning Banyan Island and fleeing thousands of miles. No, Li Zhirui suddenly had an idea. I forgot to take the demon clan into consideration. The demon clan would definitely try their best to destroy the tribulation and prevent the Xuanbing sect from giving birth to God. Then he shook his head and sighed. It was a pity that he could not join forces with the demon clan, otherwise once the news leaked, he and the Li family would be finished. The punishment for human traitors was extremely terrifying. Li Zhirui did not even dare to have the slightest thought of colluding with the enemy. We can only look at the intelligence and reaction of the demon clan, Li Zhirui murmured in a low voice. After all, with the current strength of the Li family, There is no ability to hinder the Xuanbing sect. However, with the information that the Li family's secret agents in the Xuanbing sect can find out, the demon clan must have known it long ago, in the Great Snow Mountain, on a hidden peak. If someone walked in, they would find that there were dozens of fourth-level demons inside. Because their true bodies were too large, the valley could not accommodate them, so they could only transform into human bodies. Everyone, do you think the news released by Xuanbing sect is true or false? The first to speak was a demon with sparse eyebrows, small and fair size, giving people a cunning feeling. I think it should be false. The purpose is very likely to plot and kill us. A female demon who was charming in every move said in a tender voice, if it is true, they would definitely not spread it so loudly. Sister, who is right? Immediately, several big demons echoed, staring at it with fiery eyes, wandering up and down its curvy body. It is possible that they predicted our guess and thought we would not take action, but ended up attracting thunder tribulation and catching us off guard. A female demon with the ordinary appearance and a big and strong figure retorted. As for whether it really thought so, or opposed it because it was jealous of the beauty of the fox demon, the answer was only known by itself. Sister Bio also made sense. The fox demon was not angry at all, but agreed with the latter's guess. But its statement made the demon even more angry. If not for all the fourth-level demons here, it would definitely teach the fox a lesson. The two sides argued endlessly about this, but they couldn't come up with an answer after a whole day. In the end, they could only do what they wanted. From this incident, we can see how lax the demons are. In fact, it's not their fault. After all, strength is respected in this world, and the demons are even worse. They are all fourth-level demons. Even if there is a gap in strength, it is not that big. They can't crush each other at all. In this case, why should they listen to you? Chapter 633 Action. When the rumor first spread, it attracted the attention of various forces, especially the demon clan, which arranged several fourth-level demons to wait at the edge of the area. Once the divine transformation thunder tribulation really appeared, they could not only spread the news quickly, but also try to stop the tribulation. But as time passed, there was no sign of the thunder tribulation, and most of the fourth-level demons had returned to the cave, and did not continue to stay in the wilderness to blow the biting cold wind. King Bai, we are leaving too, but in the end, only the rough-looking female demon stayed. In fact, it also felt that the Xuanbing sect might have deliberately released false news, but going back now would not prove its previous mistakes. It would definitely be laughed at by the slutty fox. It would rather stay in the cold wind than be ridiculed by the slutty fox. But later, its tribe had problems and had to go back to solve them. Not long after, the news that the demon clan had all withdrawn was known to the top leaders of the Xuanbing sect. Master, is it time to spread the second round of rumors? The master shook his head, looking like he had everything under control, and said, no hurry, this kind of thing should be slow rather than rushed, and wait a few months, when the world is about to forget, then add fuel to the fire. At the same time, the sect cannot be idle this time. We must act as if it really happened, clear out the undercovers, spies, informants, etc. near the mountain gate, and practice and prepare for the last time, which is the real tribulation. Master, you are so talented. We are far behind, an elder said with admiration. Yes, only in the hands of the master, our Xuanbing sect will usher in better and greater development. I believe that in the near future, the sect will become the only master in the Far East. And all this was accomplished under the wise guidance of the master. All kinds of nice words were spoken from the elders for free. Although the final result has not yet been produced, it will be too late to think of pleasing others when that time comes. And even if the plan failed in the end, the main responsibility would not fall on them. Wasn't it all done by the head of the sect alone? Ancestor, there was a rumor that the Xuanbing sect was about to give birth to a god-transforming ancestor, but there has been no movement so far. It is very likely false. Li Zhirui looked much more relaxed. You know, more than a month ago, the news that the Xuanbing sect was about to give birth to a god-transforming ancestor was spread to everyone and made him nervous and worried. But how long has it been? The news has dissipated. The most important thing is that the Xuanbing sect has also strictly prevented the spread of rumors. Since hearing about the Xuanbing sect, Li Zhirui adjusted his practice time so that when things really happen, he can make corresponding decisions in time. Li Zhirui also breathed a sigh of relief, but his intuition always felt that something was not right, so he did not completely let it go. He ordered, there is no smoke without fire. Tell those clansmen to be careful and collect more intelligence. All kinds of intelligence will do. If you notice anything wrong, leave Zhuanbing State in time. Yes. I will emphasize this point. Li Zhirui immediately took this matter to heart. The family's other developments were quite good. And Li Zhirui did not need to worry about it, so after finishing talking about this matter, he left. What is the Zhuanbing sect doing? Li Zhirui has always believed in his spiritual perception. Because of the alertness of his spiritual perception, he didn't know how many disasters he had escaped, and this time would naturally be no exception. But for the next 6 months, he didn't hear any movement from the Zhuanbing sect, which made Li Zhirui doubt his own spiritual perception. That's not right. Logically speaking, the higher the cultivation level, the more accurate the spiritual perception should be. Why is it the other way around for me? But since it was okay, he couldn't say anything more, so Li Zhirui was no longer as concerned about this matter as before. But after only a few days, the situation suddenly changed. Zhuanbing sect began to vigorously clean up the undercover agents and informants sent by various forces. They were caught off guard and suffered heavy losses. At the same time, the control of Zhuanbing Ferry City was strengthened. All entries and exits needed to be registered, and the goods had to be carefully inspected. When the Li family received the news, several days had passed. Li Zhirui reported the matter to Li Zhirui in panic. His round face was covered with cold sweat, and the whole person looked like he had just been fished out of the water. How many people did the family lose? At least 15. When Li Zhirui said this number, his throat was dry and his voice was hoarse and harsh. They were all caught and executed in Zhuanbing Ferry City. Other places in Zhuanbing State were fine, but then again, there were not many people arranged by the Li family in those places. Li Zhirui's face became more and more stern, but he knew that this matter was not Li Zhirui's fault. After all, even he did not pay close attention to the situation of Zhuanbing sect, let alone the busy clan leader. He let out a long breath and asked, have the remaining tribesmen left safely? They have all come out and are heading to Banyan Island. They should arrive this evening. Li Zhirui frowned and said, where did they come back from? I'll pick them up on the road. He was mainly worried that they would be ambushed and killed on the road. If such a thing really happened, Li Zhirui and his friends would not know what happened to Zhuanbing sect after all. The situation was urgent before, and not much news could be sent back. Even the number of people who died was known by Li Zhirui through the number of broken life cards. Li Zhirui hurriedly took out a positioning magic weapon. Ancestor, they are back from the sea. You can use this magic weapon to find them. Okay. After taking the magic weapon, Li Zhirui immediately stood up and flew into the sky. Li Zhirui prayed sincerely, don't let anything bad happen. The spiritual light rushed and broke through the layers of clouds and mist. Li Zhirui held the magic weapon in his right hand and looked for the whereabouts of the fleeing tribesmen. Found it. After determining their location, Li Zhirui increased his speed to the limit. To the naked eye, there would only be a flash of light, making people think they were dazzled. Hold on. Hold on a little longer. The clan will definitely send someone to pick us up, a member of the clan shouted anxiously on a spirit ship. Ahem. 3 members of the clan, each with a huge wound, collapsed on the board, dying. When the Zhuanbing sect started, they felt something was wrong and retreated immediately. But they didn't expect that they were still a step too late. They lost more than a dozen members of the clan before they escaped. Moreover, they had run out of healing elixirs, so they could only watch the 3 members of the clan lose their lives in front of them. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 634 Understood. Damn Zhuanbing sect. I don't know why they are crazy. They suddenly attacked us. And they are chasing us relentlessly, a clan member on the side growled in frustration. The only thing to be thankful for is that they shook off the Zhuanbing sect disciples chasing them, otherwise there would be more casualties. Ahem. Among the 3 seriously injured clan members, the one in the middle said weakly, brothers, I'm afraid I can't make it through this. My wife and children are still young at home. I ask you to help take care of them. I will repay the kindness of the brothers in the next life. Don't say such stupid things. Since you know that your wife and children are unattended, then hold on. We will soon reach Banyan Island, the oldest clan leader said softly. But in fact, If they want to return to the family, they need to fly for at least an hour. And these 3 people can't hold on for that long. They are there, chase them. Don't let them escape. Just when the atmosphere on the spirit ship was depressed, a shout suddenly came from the back. Not good. They are catching up. The faces of the tribesmen who were still standing suddenly changed. It was not that they had no injuries, but they were not that serious. Quick. Speed up. In their current situation, they had no way to fight against the group of cultivators. They could only run away. Swish. Suddenly a gust of wind blew over, and the 3 seriously injured Li family cultivators on the spirit ship stopped bleeding instantly. At the same time, they put down a bottle of healing elixir and said, "Give them the elixir in the bottle. I'll go and deal with those people." Stop. The family sent someone to rescue us. I don't know which giant elder the family sent. The elderly tribesman always felt that he seemed to have heard this voice somewhere. After thinking for a while, he suddenly shouted, "It's ancestors Heir who is coming." What? How is it possible? Really? I was fortunate enough to hear the ancestor preach in the past. I will never forget the ancestor's voice. Originally, they were planning to continue to escape, but after hearing this, they were immediately relieved. Not good. The person coming is a Yuanying, senior, please spare our lives. They were just building foundations. They didn't even have the courage to raise their heads in front of Li Zhirui, let alone take action. They could only beg for mercy. However, Li Zhirui knew what happened to his family members, so how could he let them go? He just stretched out his hand and a few water spears shot out from the sea below. They were so dense that there was no gap. They were obviously condensed from seawater, but the tips emitted a chilling cold light. When the Xuanbing sect disciples saw this scene, their legs went weak and they almost fell off the flying magic weapon. But before they could stand up, the water spear soared into the sky and shot towards them. The defense of most cultivators was like a piece of thin paper in front of this, which was broken by a poke. Under the piercing of countless spears, their bodies turned into pieces. Those cultivators with a little background only lasted for more than 10 breaths, and eventually they could not escape death. Li Zhirui burned their bodies and put away the storage bag. He then turned back to the spirit ship and looked at the 3 seriously injured clansmen. He was relieved to find that they had all survived. Ancestors Heir. The clansmen who were still able to move greeted him with great excitement. Li Zhirui waved his hand and said, "No need to be polite. Don't be in a hurry to tell me about Xuanbing's how. Sit down and rest for a while. You can tell me after you return to the family." There was no need for him to listen to it in advance. He could tell Li Daring and others again after he returned. It would only take about a quarter of an hour. He was not in such a hurry. Soon, the group returned to Banyan Island and asked someone to take good care of the 3 seriously injured clansmen. Li Zhirui took the remaining people to the family hall. Li Daring and a group of elders had been waiting here for a long time. Ancestors Heir. Li Zhirui took the main seat without hesitation and said, "Sit down. Let's listen to the news they heard in Xuanbing's how and the whole process of Xuanbing's sudden action." Ancestor, the reason why Xuanbing took action this time was that someone leaked the news that a Yuanying was about to pass the tribulation. A certain elder frowned and said, "That's not right. Wasn't there this rumor a few months ago? And there has been no movement. What is the madness of Xuanbing? The news was known to everyone at the time. How could they not know? Maybe there are other reasons, but we didn't find out." Li Zhirui's heart moved. This development of events was very similar to a story he had heard in his previous life. He immediately asked, "Tell me in detail about the current situation in Xuanbing's how." Yes, Xuanbing is now extremely vigilant. All unidentified cultivators are either driven out of the fairy city or caught and executed. There are Xuanbing disciples patrolling the streets at all times. If they find any cultivator who is slightly wrong, they have the right to take him down. Jinden and Yuanying cultivators are not allowed to enter the fairy city. Those who were in the city before also need to fill in detailed information, otherwise, no matter how high your cultivation is, you have to leave. The 4 major city gates in the southeast, northwest and northeast are guarded by Yuanying of Xuanbing sect, and many disciples are sent to the border areas with the demon clan, etc. After saying this, he said with tears in his eyes, several of them died in the hands of those patrolling disciples. They did not reveal their identities at all, but died just because they were targeted. Li Zhirui's face was as gloomy as water. He was extremely angry in his heart. If his undercover identity was exposed, he might not be so angry, but he died because of such a bullshit reason. How could he suppress his anger? This account My Li family has remembered it, Li Zhirui whispered. The gap between their current strength is still too big. Want to retaliate now? It's impossible, but it will also get himself involved. At the same time, he also wanted to understand the calculations of Xuanbing sect. Playing with the princes with beacon fire. However, King Zhou lost his life and was infamous for thousands of years, while Xuanbing Zhao planned to use all kinds of false information to reduce the vigilance of the demon clan and achieve his own goal. This matter must be known to the demon clan. The Xuanbing sect must not give birth to the god-transforming ancestor. Otherwise, the family will never have an easy life in the future. A cold light flashed in Li Zhirui's eyes. Judging from the matter of purging spies, the Xuanbing sect has already ignored other forces and killed them without mercy. There is no god-transforming ancestor yet, and they are so ruthless. If there is, what will happen? By then, I am afraid that the Li family's submission will not be submission, but become the slaves of the Xuanbing sect. Life and death are all in their hands. However, this matter must not be known to others, not even the most trusted Zhang Fengwu, because in a sense, Li Zhirui's actions have already colluded with the demon clan and betrayed the human race. Chapter 635 Notice. Ancestor, what should we do about this? Li Zhirui asked cautiously. He was also very angry, but more of it was fear and worry. The Xuanbing sect was powerful, and if they really started fighting, it would be far beyond the Li family's ability to resist. Give the highest compensation to those clansmen who unfortunately died because of this incident, and hand it over to their descendants or direct elders in person. There can't be any mistakes, otherwise don't blame me for being ruthless. Li Zhirui, who was deep in thought, was awakened and ordered with a heavy face. Li Zhirui pouted. He was not actually asking about this matter, but since Li Zhirui ordered so, he could only do it. I will keep a close eye on this matter. As for the news of the Xuanbing sect, arrange some clansmen to go to the nearby market in Fairy City, not to Xuanbing Fairy City, and especially tell them to be careful. Although Li Zhirui guessed the Xuanbing sect's plan, he had to know the news in time to react as quickly as possible. As for how to tell the demon clan about his guess, he had to start from Xuanbing Zhao, such as those monks who tipped off the demon clan, using them to accomplish his own goals. Even if the Xuanbing sect investigated it in the future, it would be their business, and what would it have to do with Li Zhirui? The next matter will be left to you to discuss and deal with. After saying that, Li Zhirui stood up and left the family hall. The demon clan learned about the Xuanbing sect's massive purge one day earlier than the Li family. The Xuanbing sect is acting this way. It seems that there is really a nascent soul cultivator who is about to pass the tribulation. Yes, then we have to prepare as soon as possible, so as not to be at a loss and fall into passive position when the time comes. Gather the cubs in the clan now. As long as someone starts to pass the tribulation, we will set off a beast tide. At the same time, secretly arrange some cubs who can escape underground to quietly lurk near the Xuanbing sect and disrupt the tribulation. As long as a demon beast enters the range of the thunder tribulation and emits its own aura, it will increase the power of the thunder tribulation. The original extremely dangerous thunder tribulation will definitely take the life of the cultivator. And there is no need to think too much about the fate of these demon beasts. They will definitely die. However, compared to the birth of a divine transformation cultivator, let alone sacrificing some low-level demon beasts, even if tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of them die, they will not only not feel distressed, but will think it is very cost-effective. But what the fourth-level big demons never expected was that they summoned a large number of demon beasts, but they did not wait for the thunder tribulation to appear. After half a month, the low-level monsters could no longer bear it, because there were too many high-level monsters here. The pressure and breath made them very uncomfortable. At the same time, they were also hungry, cold, natural enemies, and the fear of being eaten. Seeing this situation, the fourth-level monsters knew that if they continued like this, let alone attacking the monks, a war would break out among the low-level monsters. In desperation, they could only announce their retreat and let them go back. Damn it! The hateful and cunning monks actually played tricks on us again. The fourth-level monsters were extremely angry. If it weren't for the hard work of half a month, which greatly reduced the strength of the monsters, they would have wanted to directly set off a beast tide and attack the Xuanbing sect. After these two teasings, the monster clan's belief in the birth of a god-transforming monk in the Xuanbing sect was greatly reduced, and their reaction gradually slacked off. Xuanbing sect hall. The headmaster is really a genius, everything is under control, After receiving the news of the monster clan's retreat, the elders were relieved. They were really afraid that the monster clan would take action. The headmaster was modest. In fact, he was not sure. He just felt that the demons would pay more attention to destroying the tribulation. After waiting for a long time, their fighting power would be greatly weakened. By then, they would not think about fighting against the sect's opponents. Headmaster, when will the third wave of news be spread? The headmaster pondered for a moment and asked, how long can Uncle Bingayan suppress it? More than a month. Then spread the news of the tribulation again in a month, and spread it again a few days before Uncle Bingayan's tribulation. The headmaster said with certainty, I promise that the last time, the reaction of the demons will definitely become very slow. By then, the pressure we have to face will be greatly reduced, of course. We can't ignore the hard power because the strategy works. We must be prepared for a big battle with the demons. In everything, the strange and the right are born together, so that things can be better accomplished. What is the headmaster going to do? Through these strategies, the headmaster's prestige has reached an unprecedented height, and his power is surprisingly great. Naturally, he can't avoid such things. Strengthen the strength of all the markets and immortal cities on the west and south sides of Xuanbing Immortal City, and secretly arrange some death warriors. Once the situation is not good, detonate the formation, and do everything possible to weaken the strength of the demon race and slow down the demon race's advance. The elders present were horrified. They never expected that their headmaster would be so cruel. You know, those immortal cities and markets earn a lot of spirit stones for the sect every year, not to mention that there are several important immortal cities. Moreover, there are so many independent cultivators and their own disciples. As long as Uncle Bingayan can break through the transformation of the spirit, what is this loss? The headmaster said with a relaxed look. Of course he knew how vicious and cruel his actions were, but it didn't matter. After all, history books are written by the victors. How to record it at that time, isn't it him who has the final say? I know that some of your juniors are away, and I will give you time and opportunity to let them come back, but this matter must be kept secret. Otherwise, you can forget about sitting down. Yes, the elders were shocked. If that's the case, what does the life and death of others have to do with them? Just when Xuanbing's sect began to act, Li Zhirui also quietly left Banyan Island. In addition, in order to prevent being disturbed, before he left, he specifically told Li Zhirui that the affairs of Xuanbing's sect did not need to be as urgent as before. He planned to practice in seclusion for a period of time. Unless something major happened, don't disturb him. That afternoon, Li Zhirui came to a small market not far to the west of Xuanbing Fairy City. Because it is close to Xuanbing Mountain and the market is not large, only foundation building cultivators can sit in it, and they can't find his existence at all. In the evening of that day, Li Zhirui discovered something very strange. Some of the disciples of Xuanbing sect in the market quietly left the market. And they all have one common feature, that is, their status is higher than that of other Xuanbing sect disciples. At the same time, several Xuanbing sect disciples with indifferent and dead eyes came to the market. As soon as they came in, they took control of the market formation. They also set up an extraordinary powerful attack formation in the market. Chapter 636 Verification. There is a master of formation as a Taoist companion. Although Li Zhirui has not learned it, he still has good eyesight. The formation they set up has great lethality and a wide range. But what is the use of setting up such a formation in the market? Could it be? Li Zhirui thought of a possibility and suddenly woke up. Xuanbing sect is planning to sacrifice the independent cultivators in the market and those disciples without background. Moreover, he believes that this formation is definitely not only set up in this small market. I am afraid that the fairy cities and markets on the west and south sides of Xuanbing Fairy City have similar formations. What a cruel and vicious method. This also made Li Zhirui determined to prevent the birth of the god-transforming ancestor of Xuanbing sect. If he fell into the hands of such a sect master, his end would probably be extremely miserable. He originally just planned to rest here and collect news about Xuanbing sect, but he didn't expect to have such a big harvest. However, Li Zhirui would not disclose this matter to the demon clan. He hoped that the strength of the demon clan would be weakened. How could he help them in this? He only needed to tell the demon clan's human spies lurking among the cultivators about the Xuanbing sect's plan. Li Zhirui patiently stayed in the market, asking for information while looking for spies. During this time, he also returned to Banyan Island. Did anyone come to see me during my absence? He deliberately left the steady dacking in the family just to keep an eye on this matter. Li Zhirui came, but it was not an important matter. He just took care of the affairs you had instructed before. Okay. If there's an emergency, contact me using the secret method of soul transmission. Don't worry, now only Daking and Zhaoqing know what he is doing, not even Zhang Fengwu knows. Li Zhirui stayed in the market for more than half a month and finally completed one of his goals this time. He found the demon clan's spies. One is a foundation-building casual cultivator who looks ordinary and unobtrusive, and the other is a mortal who has no magic power. If Li Zhirui's soul was not strong and he could cover the entire market with his consciousness, he would not have found the target person so smoothly. The main reason was that the two people had such a huge gap in their identities, but they were able to stay together in the middle of the night, which instantly attracted his attention, and then he patiently eavesdropped on their conversation. Master, I received news from the mountain in Xuanbing Immortal City that the Xuanbing sect has been strictly guarded, and many cultivators go down the mountain and come back every day. It seems that there is something big going on. The foundation-building cultivator pondered for a moment and said, do you know what the reason is? It hasn't been spread yet. Okay, I know. You keep these money and report any news in time. Yes. Master, please rest assured, I will never neglect it. The mortal left excitedly with a heavy package. After Li Zhirui had an accurate target, he withdrew his spiritual consciousness that was spread all over the market, and watched the every move of the foundation-building cultivator day and night. Although his soul was powerful, doing so was also very consuming for him. Now that he had found the person, there was no need to consume his spiritual consciousness. Because there was nothing to do. The man did not leave the market in the next half-month, but occasionally went out to drink and chat with a few foundation-building cultivators. As for that mortal, he never came to look for him again. Everything was calm and nothing happened. Until the Xuanbing sect spread the news that a Yuanying had passed the tribulation again, and this time it was spread with details, as if it was really true. He left the market anxiously to contact his superior. Although he didn't believe it in his heart, he had no say in whether it was true or not. Li Zhirui followed him quietly and learned the identity of his superior. At the same time, he also learned about several other spies through this superior. After receiving this information, the demons no longer took it seriously. No matter how stupid they were, would they be deceived again and again? The senior officials of the Xuanbing sect were extremely excited when they heard the news. The demons didn't take any action this time. Could they do it next time? The head of the sect gave the order loudly, saying, the real battle is about to come. Everyone must be prepared to fight to the end, but I believe, in front of thousands of outstanding disciples, the demon clan? It's nothing but a landslide, not worth mentioning. Victory will be ours. And only ours. Speaking of which, will it be true this time? Li Zhirui also heard it at the first time, frowning and muttering to himself. Although he guessed the Xuanbing sect's plan, he didn't know when the Yuanying would pass the tribulation. If Li Zhirui told the demon clan his guess through a spy, once he was wrong, the effect of the second time would be greatly reduced. So he must ensure that after the demon clan knows his news, there will really be a thunder tribulation over the Xuanbing sect. No. A bright light suddenly flashed through Li Zhirui's chaotic mind, and he suddenly realized, when the Xuanbing sect first spread the news, it should be someone who broke through the bottleneck. And this matter has been. He narrowed his eyes, pondered for a moment, and a bright smile appeared on his face, saying, there is still half a month, and it will be a year. After the cultivators have formed the elixir, they must pass the thunder tribulation to break through the great realm, but the thunder tribulation will not come immediately. But the cultivators need to take the initiative to release their breath to guide it. If you are not prepared, you can temporarily suppress it, but it will only last for a year at most. By then, no matter what the situation is, unless you have great magical powers and completely erase your own heavenly secrets, or die, no matter where you are, you will face the heavenly tribulation. So no matter how the Xuanbing sect calculates, the day of passing the tribulation is coming. But in order to get accurate information, Li Zhirui disguised himself as a key training cultivator and ventured into the Xuanbing Immortal City, and then he soon found some signs. There are more disciples of the Xuanbing sect in the Immortal City, and there are shortages of elixirs such as restoring mana and healing wounds everywhere. Some casual cultivators complained that the nearby market and Fairy City were out of stock today, making them go for nothing. Li Zhirui guessed instantly that the Xuanbing sect was preparing for war, and at the same time, he was sure that the rumors were false. Because if it was true, these strategic materials should have been prepared long ago, and should not have been prepared until today. In order to avoid the Xuanbing sect sealing the city, Li Zhirui left the fairy city that afternoon. After leaving the city gate, he looked back at the towering Xuanbing mountain not far away, and said to himself, "It will not be long before this flawless white snow mountain will be dyed scarlet blood." Chapter 637 Disappointment. After returning to the market where he had stayed before, Li Zhirui was not in a hurry to pass the news to the spies. He waited a few days before he started to act. That night, he quietly sneaked into the room of the foundation building monk and left a booklet and a note with a few words. "I hope you are not a fool and can understand the meaning of the booklet." Li Zhirui looked at the monk who fell into coma and muttered to himself. Then he disappeared quickly. When the sun was high in the sky the next day, Wang Chenai woke up slowly and covered his head and said, "What happened to me?" His first reaction was that he was calculated and played a dirty trick. He turned over anxiously to see if he had lost something. But the things placed on the wooden table instantly attracted his attention. "Someone has been here." He hurried forward, picked up the thin booklet without hesitation, and flipped through it. He was not worried about any calculations in it, because if the other party really wanted to do it, he could have killed him without anyone noticing last night, so there was no need to do it. There are two short fables in the booklet, and the content is very brief. One is that the king repeatedly teased the princess to win the smile of the beauty, and died in the enemy army. The other is that the child lied, teased the villagers, and finally died in the wolf's mouth. The story is very easy to understand, and both express the same content, using the same tricks to constantly consume the trust and patience of others, and finally harm oneself. This made Wen Chenai a little confused, and he didn't understand what the purpose of the person who put this booklet was. But when he saw the content on the note at the end, his pupils shrank suddenly, and his expression instantly became extremely serious. "I saw that the note was posted. The deadline for postponing the tribulation is only 1 year at most, and 10 days later, it will be the expiration date." In order to avoid being exposed, Li Zhirui deliberately cut out a dozen words from the dictionary one by one, pasted them on a piece of white paper, and sprinkled spiritual objects that wiped out the breath. As for deducing the secrets of heaven, it was almost impossible to find him. It might be because of the time travel, or because of the mysterious space, so that Li Zhirui's secret was hidden in the thick fog and could not be deduced at all. Seeing this, Wang Chenai did not care whether his identity would be exposed. He hurriedly found his superior, handed over the booklet and the note, and said anxiously, "Senior, Xuanbing sect may really have a nascent soul tribulation. Where did you get these things?" "I don't know who sent them to my room last night." The superior's eyes flickered, and I don't know what he was thinking. "It seems that there are also people in the upper echelons of Xuanbing sect who don't want to see the appearance of the divine transformation cultivator," the superior said softly. His expression suddenly became sharp, and said, "I will pass the news back as soon as possible. Otherwise, how could he know such a strict news? You know, the highest position of the demon clan's undercover in Xuanbing sect is deacon. Only one step away from the elder. But even he didn't know this news. You go back first, and inquire more about the actions of Xuanbing sect in the next few days, no matter what they are." "Yes. Senior, I'll go now." Wang Chenai left in a hurry. That afternoon, the online person left quietly and headed straight for the Great Snow Mountain. Li Zhirui, who was observing in secret, saw the scene and couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief, thinking in his heart, with this news, the demon clan should be able to stop Xuanbing sect, right? He was sure that in order to prevent the birth of the divine transformation monk, the demon clan would definitely fight desperately, even if it suffered heavy losses. Because they knew what would happen to them if they failed to stop it. If the human forces such as the Li family still had a chance to surrender, then the demon clan would only die. While the war between the two sides had not yet broken out, Li Zhirui hurried back to Banyan Island and sent an order to Li Zhirui with the family jade card. The ancestor came out of retreat. After seeing the content, Li Zhirui was puzzled, but he still did as he was told, and asked all the clan members lurking in Xuanbingzhou to come back within 3 days. Could it be that something big is going to happen in Xuanbingzhou? But the ancestor has been in seclusion these days, how did he know? But soon, he was diverted by a lot of affairs and immersed in dealing with a lot of trivial matters. "Where have you been these days?" Li Zhirui planned to rest in the family for one night and go to Xuanbingzhou tomorrow. But he didn't expect that his whereabouts would arouse Yang Fengwu's suspicion. But this is also normal. After all, the two of them live in the same yard. No matter how careful he is, he will still leave some clues. What did you say? I have been practicing in the quiet room and refining pills, but Li Zhirui would never admit it. After all, what he did was to sell out the interests of the human race and betray the human race. Really? Zhang Fengwu looked at him suspiciously. She always felt that he was lying, but there was no solid evidence. Li Zhirui's face was calm, and he asked curiously, "Why do you think so, women's sixth sense? Are you suspecting that I'm out to have affairs?" Li Zhirui raised his eyebrows and said with a smile, "Don't worry, I only have you in my heart, and everyone else is just a mediocre woman." Humph. Men's mouths are deceiving. Zhang Fengwu curled his lips and said, "Give me a few bottles of precious pills, I'm going to continue my retreat." Li Zhirui smiled slightly. He was still doubting him? He took out a few bottles of precious pills that he had refined in the past few days. Enough? If not, I'll give you a few more bottles. He was lurking in the market and had nothing to do, so he entered the space to refine a few bottles of precious pills to pass the time. He didn't expect that they would come in handy here. Enough. Zhang Fengwu nodded with satisfaction and turned back to his retreat room. Li Zhirui watched her close the door, closed his eyes and felt carefully for a moment. He did not notice Zhang Fengwu's side and consciousness, and sent a voice message to Deking. "Deking, you go in for me to retreat, I will transform into your appearance, and leave early tomorrow morning. Don't worry, brother Jiu." Deking knew what he was doing during this period, and asked curiously, "What is the situation of Zhuanbing sect?" "Not bad, I found some clues. If nothing unexpected happens, it should not pose any threat to the family." Deking breathed a sigh of relief. Although he was also a demon clan. As a relative who is closely related to Li Zhirui and shared life and death, he naturally stood on the side of the Li family. There was no conversation that night. At noon on the second day, Deking, who was transformed by Li Zhirui, left the cave, and then quietly walked out of Banyan Island and headed straight for Zhuanbing's house. However, this time, he did not go to the small market again, but went to Fairy City near the Great Snow Mountain. He now needed to observe the movements of the demon clan closely to see if the demon clan believed his guess. Originally Li Zhirui thought that the demon tribe would take action after receiving the information, but the result made him extremely disappointed. Chapter 638 Thunder Tribulation. Did the giant and cultivator fail to pass the news to the demon clan? Or did the demon clan know about it but remained unmoved? Li Zhirui raised his eyebrows and said to himself with a serious expression. If it was the former, he could still do it again. Anyway, he had seen several spies before, but if it was the latter, it meant that the demon clan no longer had any trust in this matter. No matter how hard he tried, he could not influence the demon clan in the end. What should I do next? Li Zhirui rubbed his eyebrows, trying to find a way to break the situation, but he found nothing. But what he didn't know was that after receiving the news, the demon clan urgently summoned all the fourth-level catastrophes, and gathered in the depths of the Great Snow Mountain. There were vast ice and snow, as well as a large number of demon beasts, blocking all the cultivators spying outside. What do you think about this matter? A giant man with a fierce momentum, who was 5 feet tall when transformed into a human body, roared. Its true form is the wild ancient tusk elephant, one of the largest demon beasts on land. There are records of wild elephants that are more than 1,000 feet tall. Although within the demon clan, it is not necessarily the case that the bigger the body, the stronger the strength, but the wild elephant is definitely a positive example, and its strength is extremely huge and terrifying. Like this wild elephant, it can easily collapse a hill of 200 or 300 feet. As the saying goes, one force can defeat 10 skills, so its strength is definitely the first level among the demon clans of the Great Snow Mountain. I don't know whether the source of the news is true or not, and I can't find out the secrets of heaven. Maybe this is a trick of trapping a turtle in a jar. A white-haired old man who looks like he will die in the next moment said in a dry voice. This person is from the Kinkyu Fox clan, and as everyone knows, the Fox clan has always been in a position of giving advice and suggestions among the demon clan, and it is no exception. Besides, because of the last call, the tribes have already complained a lot. Now come again? I'm afraid the effect will not be too good. Old Fox, you are always so timid. If this news is true, and we are not prepared, I'm afraid we can't break through the Zhuanbing sect, which is strictly guarded, to destroy the tribulation. A big monster who looks the youngest said sarcastically. Compared with the old monsters who have lived longer, the younger generation of big monsters seem more energetic and more aggressive, but also more radical. After all, Except for some 4th level big monsters with better origins, the other newly promoted 4th level monsters have fought all the way up from the bottom, and their mentality and concepts cannot be changed in a short time. The old fox pretended not to hear it, closed his eyes and pretended to sleep, as if he didn't intend to participate in the next discussion. What do you think about this? The big monster sitting in the center slowly spoke. As soon as it spoke, all the other big monsters fell silent. And being able to do this shows how powerful it is. I dare not say that its strength ranks first among the monsters, but among the monsters present, it is definitely the most powerful, otherwise this situation would not happen. Take action, and do everything you can to disrupt the tribulation of the Xuanbing sect cultivators. That's right. We must teach those humans a severe lesson. This matter concerns the continuation of the Great Snow Mountain Demon Clan, and we must disrupt this tribulation. You and I talked at the same time, and among the 20 or so 4th level demons present, most of them wanted to take action. In that case, let's start gathering all the tribes and forming an army. The big demon in the middle said in a serious tone, I will try to invite more 4th level big demons to participate so as to better achieve the goal. However, there are a few points to note. The old fox saw that the overall situation had been decided and it was useless for him to object, so he began to look at the matter from another angle. Soon he had a lot of ideas and said, there are still several days before the 1-year deadline. We must speed up and prepare enough food. We can't let the situation like last time happen again, otherwise new and old hatreds will erupt together, and there may be a civil war. Secondly, the Xuanbing sect must have made full preparations and arranged people to watch our every move, so we must not let them notice the army we have gathered. The old fox said lightly, since they want to catch us by surprise, we can launch a surprise attack. This matter will trouble you. Bat. The dark bat has a relatively useless magical power that can make things invisible in a large area. Doesn't it sound good? But the problem is that this magical power can only make things invisible and cannot conceal its own breath. However, the monks sent by Xuanbing sect to monitor them would definitely not get too close, so the old fox was not worried about being discovered. Then let's act separately. The big demon in the middle spoke and ended the meeting. All the big demons became busy. Because there were too many of them, they revealed many clues. Unfortunately, there was heavy snow in the Great Snow Mountain all year round. In just a moment, these traces were covered by snow. And this is why Li Zhirui did not find the demon clan. He was too far away, and he suppressed his own cultivation to the foundation building stage, so naturally he could not see any clues. Alice, Li Zhirui sighed heavily. As the days passed, Xuanbing sect released news again. Not to mention the demon clan, even few of its own disciples believed it. Many disciples couldn't understand why the sect spread false news again and again. Among the thousands of strange speculations, the most recognized one was to lure the demon clan to take action. But Li Zhirui knew that the thunder tribulation of transformation was about to come. The reason why he stayed in Xuanbingzhou was that he didn't give up, and he wanted to see the birth of the God-transforming ancestor with his own eyes. Finally, he wanted to observe the tribulation and learn about the God-transforming thunder tribulation in advance. Although he could only observe the thunder tribulation from a very far distance, it was better than not having any chance at all. Maybe he was lucky and learned something from it. One night, a heavy pressure suddenly emanated from the sky and earth, which made Li Zhirui, who had been paying attention to Xuanbing sect, instantly perk up. Even at night, the dark clouds were very eye-catching. As long as you looked up, you would see them at the first time. The thunder tribulation is about to begin. Even if the demon race reacts now, it's a little too late, Li Zhirui murmured. It seems that we can only hope that the power of this thunder tribulation is very terrifying and he will fail to pass the tribulation. There was no way. He had done everything he could, but at this point, the only way was to pray to the sky. Perhaps, I should consider moving away from Banyan Island. Such a thought suddenly emerged in Li Zhirui's mind, making him feel even heavier. The calamity clouds gathered together, stretching for more than 10 miles in radius, giving people a great sense of oppression, with lightning flashing and gathering power. Chapter 639 Emergency. At the edge of the Great Snow Mountain, several sharp-eyed demons stood high in the sky, looking at the black ice mountain from afar. When they saw the clouds of calamity, their expressions suddenly changed and they shouted, "There really is a nascent soul undergoing calamity. Hurry up and act, it's actually true, act." The hidden demons showed up one after another and drove the low-level demon beasts forward. Boom boom boom, A loud noise like an avalanche made the whole world tremble. On the snowy ground that was clearly empty, hundreds of thousands of demon beasts suddenly appeared. They ran wildly towards the fairy city not far away. No. The demons are attacking. The violent movement awakened the monks in the fairy city, and those monks standing on the city wall shouted miserably. The incident happened suddenly, and they were not prepared at all, and the scene fell into panic and disorder. Finally, it was the death warriors arranged by Xuanbing's sect in advance who came forward to stabilize the situation and told all the cultivators that the formation would not be opened. If they did not want to die, they should do their best to stop the demons, otherwise they would die. As soon as these words came out, the scene became chaotic again. Xuanbing's sect is using us as cannon fodder to die. Everyone should work together to break the formation, so that there is hope of survival. Humph. Idiots who don't know how to live or die. The death warriors controlled the formation, and a stream of light fell, instantly taking the life of the bewitching cultivator, and blood and flesh flew everywhere, splashing on the surrounding cultivators. Do you have any opinions? The casual cultivators hated these death warriors very much, but they held the formation, a powerful weapon, and could easily reap their lives. For a while, no one dared to be the first to do it. Be honest, otherwise the formation will be broken and no one will survive. Just at this time, the demon army arrived in front of the fairy city. Crack, the formation that was thought to be solid, under the joint efforts of more than a dozen fourth-level monsters, was like a piece of thin paper, and it broke with a slight poke. The monsters were not trying to occupy territory and plunder resources this time, but to destroy the divine thunder tribulation. Naturally, they would not use low-level monsters like before. In order to arrive as soon as possible, the fourth-level monsters would never hold back. As for why they still had to bring those hundreds of thousands of low-level monsters? Because when they arrived at Xuanbing Fairy City, they would need them to act as pawns and affect the thunder tribulation. The formation is broken. Run away. Those casual cultivators were both terrified and happy. Although it was very dangerous, at least they didn't have to wait for death and had hope of survival. Auras rose into the air, and the casual cultivators used various means to escape from this place. Unfortunately, in front of the monster army, only 1 out of 100 of them could escape. Children, when you come back, rob this city again. In order not to waste time, even if they broke through the city, they did not go in immediately, but planned to go around. Boom boom, but just as the monsters approached the fairy city, a terrifying energy burst out, and the entire fairy city was blown into ruins, and the monsters also suffered considerable losses. Damn it. I didn't expect Xuanbing's sect to arrange such a disgusting method. The fairy city and market behind may also have such methods. Everyone should be careful. The fourth-level big monsters were furious, but most of the people were dead. They wanted to vent their anger, but they couldn't find a target, so they could only move forward. There were dozens of fourth-level big monsters, and they were unstoppable all the way, and there was no place that could stop them. The self-destruction formation arranged by Xuanbing's sect greatly reduced the lethality of the prepared monsters, but it was a bit time-consuming and required a longer detour. When the monsters took action, the high-level leaders of Xuanbing's sect received the news almost at the same time. How is it possible? This is impossible. The reaction of the head of the sect was the most intense. Why was his plan, which was so amazing and proud of, seen through by those stupid monsters? After all, even if the demon clan discovered the thunder tribulation at the first time, it would be impossible to summon hundreds of thousands of demon clan troops in an instant, and it is said that dozens of fourth-level demons were dispatched. In order to ensure that they could destroy the divine thunder tribulation, the demon clan of the Great Snow Mountain took out 80% of their strength. Now there are only a few fourth-level demons in the huge Great Snow Mountain, and the defense is empty. While the elders were worried, they were also a little happy. They were worried that the demon clan was coming in full force, and they were happy that the master's plan was seen through, which greatly hid his prestige. You know, during this period of time, the master took a lot of power from the elders, which made them very angry, but they did not dare to confront the master whose prestige was at its peak. Someone must have leaked the news. The demon clan knew it. The master looked crazy, with red light flashing in his eyes, and hysterically roared, "Who is it? Who is it, master? Now that things have come to this, we should find a way to stop the demon clan and ensure that Uncle Banyan can pass the tribulation, instead of going crazy here." Yes. That's right. At all costs, we must stop the demons and not give them the opportunity to destroy the thunder tribulation. The head of the sect nodded repeatedly. As long as Uncle Bingayan succeeds in overcoming the tribulation and achieves the transformation of the spirit, Zhuanbing sect will still achieve the highest achievement in history under his leadership. And he will still be recorded in the annals of history and be famous for all time. Order all the cultivators. Unless they are in a closed-door retreat, everyone must go to the vicinity of the city wall to resist the demon army. The head of the sect looked even crazier, and said, "Even you must go." The faces of the elders turned ugly in an instant. How could they go to a place where they could die at any time? Looking at the head of the sect who had lost his mind, no one dared to stand up and object. But, Uncle Bingayan also needs manpower near him to prevent the demons from using strange means, but some people were still unwilling. With all the uncles here, what's there to worry about? The head of the sect stared at him coldly and said, "Or do you intend to disobey my order?" The frightened elder hurriedly said, "I dare not. I am just worried about Uncle Bingayan." In that case, then everyone, take action. I hope to see results within half an hour. With the order of the head of the sect, whether the Zhuanbing sect cultivators are willing or not, they must take action and come to the top of the city wall. When they are full, they will wait below to fill the vacancies at any time. In addition, there are also casual cultivators who stayed in the city, who were also driven to climb the city wall. Huh? What's going on? Li Zhirui, who was hiding in the small market, saw the dense black shadows on the city wall, and his heart suddenly moved. Could it be that the demon tribe took action? Unfortunately, he was too far away from the great snow mountain and could not see the movement over there at all. But if it were not for this reason, the Zhuanbing sect would never react like this. I just don't know if the demons can catch up. Even if they do, can they break through the layers of defense and destroy the thunder tribulation? Li Zhirui murmured in a low voice, feeling a little worried. Boom boom, but soon, his attention was attracted by the thunder tribulation that shattered the darkness of the night. Chapter 640 Failure. The seemingly plain and simple thunder seemed to contain a very profound truth of the great Tao, which made Li Zhirui indulge in it and unable to extricate himself. But unfortunately, the distance was too far, and even if he tried his best to magnify his eyesight, he could not see it clearly. But then again, if he was not too far away and could not feel the pressure of the thunder tribulation, Li Zhirui would not be able to comprehend it so easily and comfortably. At this time, Bingayan's Henjin, the master of this thunder tribulation, flew his hands, and lotus flowers condensed from ice crystals bloomed in the air to block the approach of the thunder tribulation. The thunder tribulation was fierce and penetrated dozens of ice lotuses in an instant, but it was generated faster, with thousands of ice lotuses stacked layer by layer, and the defense was impenetrable. The collision of thunder and ice brought a hint of chill to the evening breeze, and also calmed the anxious disciples of Zhuanbing sect. The two were deadlocked for a full quarter of an hour, and finally the energy of the thunder tribulation was exhausted and slowly dissipated. The first thunderbolt will take a quarter of an hour, and there will be 8 more thunderbolts, each one stronger and more terrifying than the last. It will take at least 2 hours, Li Zhirui calculated in his mind and said, with such a long time, the demon tribe should be able to arrive. Right, while he was thinking, he saw the thunderbolt rolling, and the thunderbolt that had been brewing for a long time took shape in an instant and smashed down. Unlike the first thunderbolt, which was ordinary, the second thunderbolt emitted a red flame. Even Li Zhirui, who was hundreds of miles away, could feel the terrifying heat contained in it. Fire thunderbolt, Bingayan snorted coldly and said, even if it restrains my thunderbolt, what does it matter? No one can stop me from breaking through the incarnation. The mana in his body poured out like a flood, and the ice lotus suspended in the air instantly burst into strong cold air, turning the area of more than 10 miles into an extremely cold area. But in front of the thunderbolt, this cold area was nothing more than that, and it burned out of thin air. The impact of extreme cold and extreme heat was so fierce that it was hard to tell who would win. Bingayan kept increasing his mana supply, his face became extremely pale, and his mana rapidly decreased. He had to swallow a top-grade Huling Baodin in advance. Originally, according to his speculation, he would swallow the Baodin to restore his mana at least after he had survived the third thunderbolt, but now he had to use it. You know, the top-grade Huling Baodin is a treasure that can completely restore mana in a few breaths. Even the Zhuanbing sect spent a lot of money to buy a bottle. Boom boom, the ground suddenly trembled, and Li Zhirui looked up instantly. What is this? He saw a burst of white dust flying, spreading for dozens of miles. Li Zhirui looked closely, and a look of joy appeared on his face. The demon army is coming. There were many immortal cities and markets in the thousands of miles, but even so, The demons only took an hour to arrive. The demons are coming. Everyone get ready, the Yuanying cultivator on the city wall shouted loudly. Kill! Several fourth-order monsters roared to the sky and transformed into their true bodies. Each of them was hundreds of feet tall, exuding a wild aura, and attacked Zunbing Fairy City. The ancient elephant of the wilderness, the giant earth bear, the black rhinoceros that shattered the sky, Li Zhirui, who was hiding in the distance, had a trace of horror in his eyes. These monsters were all extremely powerful. And judging from their cultivation, they were all in the late fourth order, or perfect. The powerful physical attack shook the formation, and the spiritual light flickered. When the attack fell, many cultivators did not even have the idea of resisting, and were frightened to collapse to the ground. Everyone, take action. Destroy these beasts, the head of the sect shouted loudly. He would not allow anyone to stop him from becoming famous for thousands of years. No matter who it was, as long as they stopped him, they would only die. Under the leadership of the nascent soul cultivators, many cultivators mustered up the courage to launch a counterattack. In the dark night sky, there flashed spiritual light as numerous as stars, gathering into a galaxy, bombarding the monster army. Unfortunately, the demon tribe was more numerous and not inferior in strength, so the cultivators' first move was not very effective. Banyan, who was undergoing the tribulation, naturally noticed the commotion, and his heart suddenly sank. How could the demon tribe come so quickly? But now was not the time to think about this. He had to concentrate on resisting the thunder tribulation. As long as he succeeded in the tribulation, it didn't matter even if most of the disciples were sacrificed. Why are the demon tribe coming in my direction? In order to avoid the demon tribe, Li Zhirui deliberately chose to watch the battle in the east, but he didn't expect that there would be demon tribe coming, so he had to hide in the giant tree in the distance. He didn't hide directly in the space. One was to continue to observe the thunder tribulation, and the other was to better understand the situation outside. Are the others in place? A fourth-level demon asked. One of them closed his eyes, and an inexplicable fluctuation appeared on his body. After a moment, he said, "They are all here, then notify them, and do it." The three demons each took out a black ball, poured magic power into it crazily, and threw it forward fiercely. Boom! A burst of white light suddenly appeared, and the terrifying thunder burst out. The hard defense formation shook violently and slowly cracked a gap. Go in quickly. Several black shadows moved at the sound and instantly escaped into it. Li Zhirui, who was watching the scene from a distance, shrank his eyes suddenly. The demon clan actually used several sky thunder beads to temporarily crack the formation and enter the fairy city. And it's just here. Are there several other places as well? It seems that this tribulation has failed, Li Zhirui said silently in his heart. Banyan, who was undergoing the tribulation, suddenly felt a crisis in his heart. His mind was lost for a moment, and the tribulation thunder broke through the heavy defense and came to him in an instant. If it weren't for the spirit of his life magic weapon and appeared in time, I'm afraid this blow would have seriously injured him. He had to concentrate his mind and continue to focus on the thunder tribulation. But what he didn't notice was that at the edge of the thunder tribulation, several black shadows that were easy to ignore appeared. For a while, the demonic energy rushed to the sky and attracted the thunder tribulation. The tribulation cloud seemed to be boiling, rolling wildly, thunder roared, and the storm raged. Damn it, no. How come the demons came in? It's over. Uncle Banyan will fail in his tribulation. The Yuanying of Zunbing sect changed their faces, and they were panic-stricken. Especially the guards of the Bing generation, their faces were ashen. They will be despised by thousands of people in the future. Even if they are Yuanying cultivators, even if they are of a high generation, but letting the demons enter the thunder tribulation will make the thunder tribulation worse. Banyan will fail in his tribulation, and Zunbing sect will not be able to ascend to the power of the god of transformation. How much hatred will they have? You really deserve to die. The head of the sect was so angry that he wanted to tear the demon beasts in front of him with his hands. Banyan didn't expect that he had worked hard for thousands of years and was about to end his life. He was fortunate to make a further step and made all preparations, but in the end, he failed in his tribulation because of a few demon beasts. How could he accept this? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 641 Death. The fourth thunderbolt, which should have been dropped long ago, began to brew again because of the sudden appearance of these monsters. The terrifying thunderbolt cloud now exuded a destructive aura. Since you are looking for death, I will grant you your wish. Banyan's eyes could no longer be calm, but filled with tyranny and resentment, because he knew that this tribulation was destined to fail, and he would also end up dead. So now he just wanted to take away more monsters before he died to vent his resentment and anger. Banyan flew up and killed the low-level monsters with his hands, and then disappeared without a trace. After a few breaths, when he appeared again, he appeared in the center of the monster army. The thunderbolt also arrived soon after. Ha 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 ha, die? Die with me. Banyan's crazy laughter scared the monsters so much that they trembled, and those fourth-level monsters turned around and fled without saying a word. Want to escape? Too late. All of you stay here. Banyan swallowed all the top-grade Hulang pills in one breath. His magic power seemed endless. He used all kinds of powerful magical powers to entangle the fourth-level monsters and prevent them from escaping. Damn it. Let go. Aren't you worried that we will kill all the Zhuanbing sect? Some of the fourth-level monsters roared in anger, while others threatened with a strong appearance but a weak heart. But they had only one goal, which was to leave this deadly and dangerous place as soon as possible. Ha 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 ha. I'm about to die, so why would I care about the life and death of my descendants? Banyan's laughter stopped abruptly, and instantly became gloomy and terrifying. He roared with a ferocious face. Besides, as long as I take you all away, the remaining monsters in the Great Snow Mountain can't threaten the sect. Crazy. Li Zhirui, who was hiding in the distance, sighed secretly. Suddenly, he felt that Banyan was a little pitiful. After practicing for thousands of years, when his life was about to end, he saw another way out, but it was cut off abruptly. Besides, Li Zhirui had something to do with his situation. If he hadn't exposed the Zhuanbing sect's plot and informed the demon clan, they wouldn't have come so quickly. But on second thought, if he succeeded in surviving the tribulation, the Li family's fate might not be better than his current fate. As for the fourth-order monsters near Li Zhirui, after destroying the formation and sending the monsters into the fairy city, they quickly retreated, as if they had never appeared. It's a pity that I can't comprehend the next thunder tribulation. Li Zhirui felt a little regretful. The subsequent thunder tribulation was a punishment from the heavenly Dao because it mistakenly thought that someone was helping Banyan survive the tribulation. It was not the previous test. The two were completely different. Boom. Accompanied by an explosion that seemed to shatter the mountains and rivers, the huge fourth thunder tribulation was like a raging prehistoric beast, smashing towards Banyan with great momentum. After the thunderbolt completely descended, it seemed like a huge pillar that pierced the sky and the earth. It was a dark night, but at that moment, it was no different from the bright day. Die? Banyan seemed to have given up completely. He did not cast any defensive spells, but devoted all his energy to maintaining the magical powers of the four-level monsters to prevent them from escaping. The screams overwhelmed the explosion. In addition to the 7 or 8 fourth-level monsters, there were also a large number of low-level monsters, all of which died in the thunderbolt. Why didn't the thunderbolt dissipate? Could it be that he is not dead yet? Li Zhirui's eyes flashed with surprise. He looked closely and saw that there was a person standing proudly in the smoke and dust, with magic weapon fragments under his feet. After a while, he realized what was going on. Banyan used his life magic weapon to block this thunderbolt. And this means that even if he survives this thunderbolt, he will not survive in the end. You know, the life magic weapon is related to one's own life. If the treasure is there, the person is still there, and if the treasure is destroyed, the person will die. Of course, in Banyan's current state, it is impossible to survive the thunder tribulation. Not enough. Not enough. I want more monsters to be buried with me. Banyan, whose life treasure was destroyed and whose 7 orifices were bleeding, was still shouting with a hoarse voice, full of unwillingness and resentment. Unfortunately, in his current state, he could not trap the fourth-level monster at all. At most, he could drag some low-level monsters to the underworld with him. Go to hell. The fourth-level monster that had escaped the calamity by chance wanted to kill Banyan before the next thunder tribulation fell, so that the thunder tribulation would automatically dissipate. Let's die together. Banyan obviously knew his current situation. He did not wait for the thunder tribulation, but used his broken body to harvest the lives of the monsters. Boom boom, he exploded. The self-explosion of a Yuanying cultivator, even if his body was broken, the power of the self-explosion should not be underestimated. Within a radius of 10 miles, the violent energy could be washed away. Near where he was standing, a huge deep pit appeared. It was clean inside, without any blood or flesh, because all these things were completely evaporated. Among the hundreds of thousands of demon army, only one person could still breathe at this time. And all of them were demon beasts on the periphery. Those 4th-level demons who escaped were even more dusty and embarrassed at this time. But even with dust all over their faces, they couldn't cover their gloomy faces. Hundreds of thousands of low-level demon beasts were almost all buried here, and dozens of 4th-level demons also lost nearly 1/6. With such a tragic loss, even if Banyan was stopped, how happy would they be? The Xuanbing sect must pay the price, that's right. With the current situation of the Xuanbing sect, it will definitely not be better than ours. Why not take the opportunity to destroy them? Several demons spoke one after another, one to vent their anger, and the other to collect some spiritual objects from the Xuanbing sect as for revenge. Who would take revenge for some unfamiliar dead people? Alright. Let's go back. The leading big demon pondered for a moment, and finally shook his head and refused. As the saying goes, a desperate army will win. Aren't the current Xuanbing sect cultivators desperate soldiers? Why should they rush forward to ask for trouble? Why are they leaving? Li Zhirui thought with some disappointment. He thought the demons would continue to attack. You know, under the impact of Banyan's self-explosion, the Xuanbing sect's mountain protection formation is now shaky. And with the strength of these dozens of 4th-level big demons, it will take less than half an hour to completely smash the formation, and then they can wreak havoc at will. He also wanted to sneak in and fish in troubled waters to see if he could get some good things. Evil beast! Where are you going? Die? Just as Li Zhirui was about to turn around and leave, a roar suddenly came from Xuanbing Fairy City, and a stream of light rushed out and went straight to the demon beast that was leaving. Master! Danger! The elders had never expected that their master would suddenly go crazy and rush out to seek death. They did not have the courage to do so and could only stand there and shout. Chapter 642 Harvest. You don't know whether to live or die? The leading demon just raised his head and glanced at him, then froze in place, unable to move, and then a spell pierced his heart. Plop! The corpse of the master fell from the sky and hit the ground. His face was hideous and distorted, but his eyes were wide open and there was still a trace of clarity. Unfortunately, it was too late. The monks in the Immortal City were silent instantly. They couldn't believe that a Yuanying monk died like this, so carelessly and sloppily. The action of the Xuanbing sect's master also angered the other 4th-level demons, who attacked and smashed the shaky formation. Roar! All kinds of strange roars sounded, accompanied by the giant palm that crushed people into meat paste, the sharp and violent biting cold wind, and the ice and snow that easily took lives. At one time, hundreds of low-level monks died. Because there were too many monks, even if there were dozens of Yuanying monks, they couldn't protect everyone. Especially those casual cultivators, they could not get the protection of the nascent soul cultivators at all, and could only wail and wait for death under the terrifying spells of the big monsters. The disciples who originally thought that the death of the master was tragic and heroic, now cursed in their hearts. He was looking for death, but he actually implicated them. Just vent it, let's go, the leading big monster said coldly. They just caught the cultivators off guard. If they don't leave, when these cultivators react, I'm afraid it won't be so easy to leave. Humph! As soon as it spoke, the other big monsters didn't dare to disobey, but before leaving, they still gave the cultivators a blow and set a fire in the fairy city. This is not an ordinary fire, but the damn fire of the big monsters, and even worse, it is a spiritual fire obtained by chance, the soul-devouring cold flame. Its biggest feature is not the fusion of ice and fire, but it is very difficult to extinguish. As long as there is a trace of spiritual energy, the cold flame will exist. The cultivators of Xuanbing sect tried their best to put out the fire, but the once prosperous Xuanbing Immortal City has now become a shocking ruin. Looking around, there is no intact building at all. A thunder tribulation that should have made people happy, but it made Xuanbing sect pay an extremely painful price. The immortal cities and market towns on the west and south sides were all destroyed, and almost none of the garrison disciples survived. The immortal city where the mountain gate is located, the formation was broken, and the buildings were burned to ashes. Fortunately, Xuanbing Mountain also has an independent mountain protection formation, otherwise the mountain gate would have problems. The top priority now is to set up the defense formation of the Immortal City to prevent the demon clan from making a comeback, and then arrange for the disciples to clean up the garbage in the Immortal City, the elder said in a deep voice. Now that there is no leader, these chores naturally fall on his head. However, the other elders were not convinced. After all, everyone is equal, why should you have the final say? As a result, another dispute was triggered later, which almost caused the Xuanbing sect to split. What a vicious demon clan. It's a pity for the spiritual objects in other places. Li Zhirui, who hid in the space, couldn't help but sigh. That's right. Li Zhirui has entered the fairy city. He originally planned to leave, but was attracted by the suicidal master, so he stayed for a while, and just happened to catch up with the formation breaking. Because the place where Li Zhirui was hiding was located in the north of the fairy city, cultivators were rare, and his attention was not here, so he came in smoothly. While the human and demon sides were confronting each other, he quietly came to Xuanbing Tower to see if he could get some good things from it. Li Zhirui's luck was pretty good. He got some treasures. Although there was nothing particularly outstanding, the total price was not low. Among them, it is worth mentioning a 4th-level gem, a 4th-level magic weapon mountain reprint, and many jade slips engraved with various methods. As for elixirs, talismans, etc., not even a shadow can be seen. All of them were forcibly conscripted by the Xuanbing sect. It can be seen that Xuanbing sect was well prepared for the war, but they did not expect the demon clan to be so cruel. They dispatched 80% of the great demons and hundreds of thousands of demon beasts of various ranks to rush to the fairy city at a very fast speed. Among these spiritual objects, what Li Zhirui valued most were these unknown jade slips. He was not short of spiritual objects, let alone magic weapons. The methods recorded in these jade slips were what he needed now. Unfortunately, the demon clan retreated, and the monks of Xuanbing sect began to clean up the city. Li Zhirui could not stay here. Unfortunately, he only went to Xuanbing building now, and he had no time to visit other chambers of commerce. For more than a month, he stayed in the space, looking through the jade slips with Zhao King and Xia Keng, looking for methods that he could use or that the family could use. Brother Jiu, here's a 4th-level pill recipe, Xia Kang said. Li Zhirui took the jade slip and scanned it with his spiritual sense, and he knew that it was a pill recipe to enhance mana, but for the Li family, it was a bit useless because there were no spiritual seeds, so they could only buy them from outside. Brother Jiu, when are we going back? Xiao Qing couldn't hold back. Although the area of the space has been expanding with Li Zhirui's breakthrough, and now it is dozens of miles in size, it is still too small for Xiao Qing. He can reach any place in a few breaths. I have to wait until Xuanbing Xianchang reopens and welcomes monks before I can show up openly. He was calm about this. It's only been more than a month. Is it a long time? Alice, Xiao Qing wailed in frustration and could only resign himself to continue to check the contents of the jade slips and classify them. Speaking of which, Xuanbing building is worthy of being a chamber of commerce established by Xuanbing sect. There are many good things hidden in it. Li Zhirui has not yet finished counting the jade slips he got more than a month ago. Of course, this is also related to the fact that they spend most of their time practicing and only do this occasionally when they relax. So far, Li Zhirui has obtained 2 4th-level pill recipes, a 4th-level magic weapon restriction map, a 4th-level formation pattern, and a 4th-level talisman pattern. Except that the recipe was a bit useless due to the lack of spiritual seeds. The other 3 jade slips could well fill the gaps of the Li family. These were the treasures of Xuanbing Tower. But now they all belonged to Li Zhirui. Time passed quickly, and more than half a month passed in a flash. After the emergency repair of Xuanbing sect, many shops have been built and they are planning to start welcoming monks. There is no way. If the fairy city is open one day later, it will earn 1 day less spiritual stones. For Xuanbing sect, which is short of spiritual stones, how can it be delayed? Li Zhirui found the right time and appeared in the fairy city from the space. Although he was careful enough, he was still seen by some monks. Why did this person suddenly appear? In order not to cause trouble, he immediately escaped into the crowd and disappeared in an instant. Li Zhirui did not stay in the fairy city. He immediately went out of the city gate and flew to the south, then changed direction halfway and headed straight for the boundless sea in the east. Chapter 643 Chase. In just a quarter of an hour, Li Zhirui returned to Wangxin Island. But before entering, he contacted Deking and asked if Zhang Fengwu was still in seclusion. After getting a positive answer, he went in directly. Otherwise, he must disguise himself to avoid suspicion. After entering the clan land, Li Zhirui went straight to the family hall. Ancestor, where did you get these methods? Li Zhirui looked at the hundreds of jade slips in the storage bag and asked in shock. He almost blurted out whether he had gone out to rob a certain force. Li Zhirui shook his head and said, "Don't worry about it. Just treat it as if they suddenly appeared. He has been on the island all this time under the pretext of seclusion. He can't explain the source of the jade slips at all, so he simply doesn't explain it. After all, telling a lie requires countless lies to make up for it. This is really too troublesome, and there are so many loopholes that it is easy to be seen through." Li Zhirui hesitated to speak. The ancestor sent him away with just a few words, but how should he explain to the rest of the family? Oh, right. Li Zhirui seemed to suddenly remember and asked, "Did anything major happen to Xuanbing's sect during this period?" Speaking of this, Li Zhirui suddenly became energetic and said excitedly, "Ancestor, you don't know how heavy the loss of Xuanbing's sect is. The dream of transformation is completely shattered, the leader has fallen, the disciples are injured and killed, and there are reconstruction projects in various markets and immortal cities. In short, Xuanbing's sect can't recover in a few years." Li Zhirui, who witnessed everything with his own eyes, certainly knows all about this. He also knows that the biggest crisis of Xuanbing's sect is that the independent cultivators have lost confidence in them and have seriously damaged the state of mind of the disciples. You know, Xuanbing's sect used formations to trap independent cultivators, trying to kidnap them to resist monsters, and finally wanted to drag them to perish together. After these news came out, Xuanbing's sect's reputation among independent cultivators can be said to be infamous. If it weren't for Xuanbing's sect's willingness to come up with several preferential plans for independent cultivators, such as a 20% reduction in the price of renting caves in spiritual fields. There is also an outstanding environmental advantage. There are resource-rich mountains on the west and south sides. There are also many unique resources in the extremely cold snow in the north. Not to mention the east, there are groups of water monsters in the boundless sea. Various means were used together to save a lot of scattered cultivators, but there are still fewer than before. Although the effect is a little worse, at least the problem has been solved, but the state of mind of the disciples is not so easy. If this problem is not improved, the strength of the Xuanbing sect will not improve much in the next 20 years. However, this is definitely a great thing for the Li family. With the increase of one side and the decrease of the other, the gap between the two forces will become smaller and smaller. And up to now, the demon tribe of the Great Snow Mountain has not stopped harassing the Xuanbing sect. Li Zhirui was not very clear about this matter. After all, he left Xuanbing Fairy City immediately after coming out of the space, and he had no time to inquire about the news. But the losses of the demon tribe are not small, right? Why are they still taking action instead of licking their wounds? Li Zhirui shook his head. He didn't know it very well. Later, when news came again, they understood why. The reason is just two words: territory. The biggest factor that inhibits the strength of the demon clan in the Great Snow Mountain is not the Xuanbing sect, but the lack of lands and the inability to provide more resources. Therefore, although the demon clan suffered heavy losses this time, it is still much better than the Xuanbing sect, which is unable to deal with external affairs. Just take advantage of the situation and seize more territory. After hearing this news, Li Zhirui felt a little admiration for the demon clan leader, who knew how to advance and retreat, and how to grab the greatest benefits. However, these things have little to do with the Li family. The clan members are immersed in cultivation. Seeing the strength of the younger generations improve little by little, Li Zhirui has a different sense of accomplishment in his heart. On this day, Li Chengru and Li Chenghu came to pay a visit together. What do you have to say? Li Zhirui already knew what they were going to say next. Li Chengru and Li Chenghu are not young anymore, and most of their 500 years of lifespan has passed. The former is fine, having broken through to the late Jinden stage a few years ago, but Li Chenghu, who has poorer qualifications, is still stuck in the middle Jinden stage. At this rate of cultivation, Li Chenghu's hope of breaking through to the nascent soul stage is extremely slim, so he plans to venture into the world and look for an opportunity to break through. Li Chengru also has this goal, but he pursues a bigger goal, which is to break through to the nascent soul stage. After all, which cultivator doesn't want to have a longer lifespan? Even Li Zhirui, who has no ambitions, has this idea, But he knows better in his heart that breaking through to the Jinden stage is already a blessing from heaven. Want to break through to the nascent soul stage? The probability is too small, so it is better to prepare more resources for his offspring. Speaking of which, Li Zhirui has already married 20 to 30 mortal women, hoping that they can give birth to a child with good qualifications for him. Unfortunately, the best qualification so far is only a 3 spiritual root with a purity of up to 70. Moreover, the higher the cultivation level, the higher the grade and quality of the magic weapon refined by Li Zhirui will be, which is also a powerful motivation for him. Uncle Jiu, we plan to go out for training together. Li Zhirui bowed respectfully and said. Are you ready? Yes. Li Zhirui did not persuade him. The safety of 2 Jinden traveling together will definitely be greatly improved, but as an elder, he still has to show some expression. I have refined several kinds of elixirs, you can take them all. As he said, he took out several jade bottles and explained them one by one, saying, this is the violent spirit pill, which can temporarily improve your own strength, but after half an hour, the whole person will be exhausted and unable to recover within a few days. This is the key storage pill, which can completely restrain your own breath. This is the Huling pill. Most of the elixirs that Li Zhirui took out were obtained from Xuanbing Tower. The materials for these third-level pill recipes are relatively easy to get. And the few he took out are very useful, and maybe they can save their lives at a critical moment. Thank you, Uncle Jiu. The two greeted each other solemnly. Li Zhirui waved his hand and said, thank you, it's unnecessary to say thank you. Your safe return is the best thank you gift. If you make a breakthrough, it will be even better. We will never let Uncle Jiu down. When are you leaving? Li Zhirui smiled and said, it's better to do it today than to choose the day. I have arranged everything anyway. Let's do it today, then I will see you off. Li Zhirui stood up and silently saw them off from Banyan Island. Alice, the road to seeking the truth is full of difficulties and obstacles. Many times, he, as an elder, is powerless and can only hope that they can get what they want and return safely. Chapter 644 Development. Li Zhirui and Li Zhenghu's training outside caused a wave of enthusiasm in the family. In the next few months, more and more clan members went out, and most of them were in the late stage of foundation building. They wanted to break through the golden elixir, which could not be achieved by closing the door several times in the family. They also learned from the experience of the two of them, and most of them went together. As for why other golden elixir clan members did not go out, because of their cultivation and age, they were not in a hurry to break through, or they were still a long way from breaking through. However, because the generation gap between these clan members and Li Zhirui was too large, they could not be personally received by Li Zhirui when they went out. But he still prepared some elixirs for them, hoping to save their lives in some dangerous moments. I hope these clan members can have a good result. Although Li Zhirui knew that this was impossible, it did not prevent him from having this beautiful vision. Time is always ruthless, and more than half a year has passed in a flash. One day, Zhao King suddenly came to him and said excitedly, Brother Jiu, please help me refine some top-grade third-level elixirs. What's the matter? Li Zhirui looked puzzled, not understanding why he was still asking for third-level elixirs when he had already broken through the fourth level. Feng Peng has agreed to become my Taoist partner, and I hope she can break through the fourth level as soon as possible, so I can only trouble you. Oh, Li Zhirui looked at Zhao King seriously for a few times, and did not ask more questions. After all, how the two of them get along is their business, and he, as an outsider, can't interfere. I still have a few bottles in my hand, you can use them first. After taking the elixir, Zhao King flew away in a hurry. Looking at his back as he went away, Li Zhirui shook his head. It would be fine to give these elixirs to Feng Peng, as long as Zhao King didn't have her feelings taken advantage of. But unexpectedly, Da King also came to ask Li Zhirui for elixirs for his Taoist partner Mulinger. He also didn't say anything, but the quality of the elixir he gave was slightly worse. The reason was also ready-made, as he had just given those top-grade elixir to Zhao King. But in fact, it was not this reason. The reason why Li Zhirui treated the two Taoist partners differently was mainly because Feng Peng was Jiang Fengwu's contracted spiritual beast, and her breakthrough in strength would be helpful to Jiang Fengwu and the Li family. But Mulinger was different. She was just Da King's Taoist partner and had no great relationship with the Li family. If she did not plan to stay in Banyan Island after breaking through the fourth level, wouldn't the Li family suffer heavy losses? For various reasons, it was not surprising that Li Zhirui made such a decision, even if Daking knew about it afterwards. The solution was also very simple, as long as Mulinger would not leave the Li family, such as signing an equal contract. However, Li Zhirui did not take the initiative to mention these, but let Daking and Mulinger consider them themselves. After all, they were not stupid, and of course they could think clearly. In the new year, after Li Zhirui had instructed Li Chengxian, Li Chengshuo and Li Xiangxin, he announced to them that he was about to go into seclusion. Maybe it was because he had observed the God transformation thunder tribulation, and he had some understanding of it. He had been thinking about it before. Now that he had figured it out, it had promoted his cultivation a little. Of course, he had to go into seclusion to consolidate it. Because he was not sure how long he would have to go into seclusion, he told them first to save them from waiting. In fact, Li Zhirui was still some distance away from the late nascent soul stage, and it was unlikely that he would break through in a short period of time. His understanding this time was only a small improvement. Logically speaking, he would not have to go into seclusion for a year. The reason he did this was to avoid Daqing and Xiaoqing. The two of them really thought that the third-level elixir was free, and they came to ask for the elixir several times a month. Even if Li Zhirui had space, spiritual medicine still needed time to grow. Could it be that they provided spiritual stones to promote the birth of spiritual medicines? Li Zhirui did not want to argue with them, so he just hid himself. He believed that a year would be enough for them to calm down. You should concentrate on your cultivation and strive to break through the current realm before the 10,000 immortals' secret realm opens. This vision is not easy. Except for Li Chengxian, who is more relaxed, Li Chengshuo and Li Xiangxin are a little less confident. Their foundation is still a little bit worse. Work hard. After encouraging the three people, Li Zhirui returned to the cave, closed the door of the quiet room, and began this retreat. Concentrate your mind and feel the Tao between heaven and earth to improve your realm. At the same time, run the exercises in your body to absorb the surrounding spiritual energy and increase your own mana. As Li Zhirui's cultivation level improves, he makes a lot of noise every time he cultivates. Two spiritual lights, one blue and one blue, linger around him. It is really colorful and beautiful. This time, he only took more than 4 months to complete the set task. However, in order to avoid Daking and Zhaoqing, Li Zhirui was not in a hurry to come out. In addition to refining elixirs, he was comprehending the jade slips he got from Xuanbing Tower. There are many ideas for elixir recipes, which gave him new ideas. If he works hard, he may be able to come up with a few 4th-level elixir recipes. However, Li Zhirui did not do so. First of all, he did not have much demand. The existing several kinds of precious pills were enough to satisfy his cultivation. Secondly, the 4th-level spirit seeds of the Li family were still too scarce. Even if the pill formula was created, it was impossible to refine them on a large scale. He comprehended these pill formulas mainly to learn from and learn the ideas in them and broaden his horizons. Sometimes when he was tired, he would enter the space to practice his magical powers and spells. Although Li Zhirui had not made many moves in recent years, he had always maintained his combat effectiveness. After all, this world is respected by strength. In the past 1 or 2 years when Li Zhirui was in seclusion, the development of the Li family in all aspects has made considerable progress. The most noteworthy thing is the growth of the family's strength. 2 more giant monks were added, and there were dozens or hundreds of people in the foundation building and key training. The current Li family is no longer the size of 2 or 3 big cats and kittens. Except for the Xuanbing sect, there are no equal opponents within a radius of 10,000 miles. Of course, a little further away, there are still many powerful sects, Kangxuan sect and Huamo sect, which are stronger than the Li family. However, they are too far away from Banyan Island, and the two sides have a deep hatred, so they will not easily provoke the Li family, so for now, the threat is not great. Speaking of which, in addition to the increase in overall strength, the Li family has also made considerable progress in various skills, and has cultivated several 3rd-level alchemy, refining, talisman making, formation and other talents, which has greatly supplemented the family's talent vacancies in these areas. These skilled monks are the key factors in whether a force can grow. Although the Li family has 2 4th-level alchemy and formation masters, Li Zhirui and Zhang Fengwu, it is impossible to let them do everything, right? Chapter 645, Passing Away. The Li family was developing in full swing, But the Zhuanbing sect was not going well, and even a huge crisis broke out. Because the previous head died very suddenly, the Zhuanbing sect was in chaos at that time, and they only wanted to settle down as soon as possible, and had no intention of choosing a new head. So each elder performed his duties and did his job well, but there were also some ambitious elders who took the opportunity to seize some power. Among them, the first elder, the second elder and the sixth elder were the worst. After the Zhuanbing sect basically stabilized, the three began to fight openly and secretly, hoping that they could become the head. Although there may not be much time to practice after sitting in this position, the status is noble and the position is high, and there are many hidden benefits, such as obtaining resources from the sect for free. You know, they not only represent themselves, but also the family behind them, and the followers. Most of the sects that have been passed down for a long time have a big problem, that is, there are many factions. Familialization is serious. After all, not all cultivators can transcend the tribulation and ascend to heaven. Most people have limited talents. After they break through the golden elixir in the primordial infant, their future is already bleak. Since they can't go any further, what should they do with the rest of their time? Some indulge in mountains and rivers, some hone their skills, and some plan to continue their bloodline. In this way, gradually, one after another, the immortal cultivation families that parasitize the sect were born. And because their ancestors have a certain status in the sect, with the same qualifications, they grow faster than the cultivators of mortal origin. As time goes by, these families are getting stronger and stronger, controlling more power, and are more closely entangled with the sect at this time. If they want to get rid of them, it will greatly weaken the strength of the sect, and they will eventually have to give up. The first elder, the second elder, and the sixth elder, the three of them are from the three most powerful families in the Zhuanbing sect. Whoever can become the head of the sect, it means that his family will get more resources in the next few decades. In order to compete for this position, the three people and the families behind them made the Zhuanbing sect a mess. For example, in order to find fault with the second elder, the other two will deliberately sabotage, even if it meant losing the interests of the sect, as long as they could make him lose face. The three people harmed each other, and in just 1 year, the losses of the Zhuanbing sect were no less than when the demons invaded. In some ways, the losses were even more serious. That was the territory lost by the Zhuanbing sect. The defense line against the demons retreated again and again, retreating hundreds of miles to the rear, and all the territories bordering the Great Snow Mountain retreated hundreds of miles. The Taxa demon clan, which was slightly weaker in strength, did not have so many, but it also had dozens of miles. It was precisely because of such a severe situation that the three temporarily put aside their internal struggles and joined forces to resist the invasion of the demons, which stopped the retreating borderline. Unfortunately, peace is short-lived. Before the new head of the Zhuanbing sect decides the winner, none of the three families can give up. Since Banyan failed to survive, the Li family has kept their attention on Zhuanbing sect at a normal level, but all the news has been transmitted back to Banyan Island. At this time, Li Zhirui was still in seclusion, so he naturally didn't know about this. After seeing this, Li Zhirui felt gloating, but also worried. The family now has Li Zhirui, the nascent sole patriarch, to suppress it, so it is impossible for internal strife to occur. But what if, in case one day he is gone? Will the Li family also have such a thing? Unfortunately, Li Zhirui's intelligence is limited, and he can't think of any good way to suppress the occurrence of internal strife. He can only suppress it in his heart and wait for Li Zhirui to come out of seclusion to ask, on a remote island. Ahem, it seems that I have no chance with the great Dao after all, and I will die here. Li Zhirui released the two spirit beasts she had contracted, and said, while I still have some strength, I want to stay with you for a while, Zhirui. The spirit beasts were in tears, and their hearts were filled with sadness. They were not sad because they were about to die with Li Zhirui, but simply because of her death. In my life, the first half of my life was smooth sailing, and the second half of my life was difficult and bumpy. Li Zhirui's eyes were dazed, and he murmured, the family has high hopes for me, but I have never given back to the family. If there is an afterlife, I will definitely repay this kindness. I am even more sorry for you. You still have hundreds of years to live, but now you have to accompany me to die, so before we leave, I prepared a gift for you. Li Zhirui cut off the souls of the two spirit beasts in his soul, and used up his last bit of strength to return them to their original owners. This is the method of resolving the contract recorded in the Wanling Sutra, But generally speaking, no one will perform it because it is to directly chop off the origin of the soul. Not only is it extremely painful, but it will also kill people within a few breaths. In this way, you can live and be free. Before the voice faded, Li Zhirui completely lost his vitality. At the same time, Banyan Island, the back hall of the ancestral hall. Crack. A settling crisp cracking sound suddenly rang out from the huge hall where the life cards of all the clan members were placed. The clan member in charge of guarding the life cards was startled and hurriedly stood up to look for the source of the sound. The higher his eyes went, the heavier his mood became. Because the life cards of clan members with higher generations and higher cultivation levels were placed higher. The three highest life cards were the three Yuanyings of Li Zhirui, Zhang Fengwu and Li Zhixuan. And below them were the life cards of Li Zhirui, Li Chengru and others. Ancestors Zhirui, she, the clan member paused. In fact, when Li Zhirui returned to the family, everyone knew that she would not live long. Although it was expected, when it really happened, a faint sadness still emerged in his heart. He carefully collected the fragments of the life card, wrapped them with silk, placed them on the jade plate, and walked out quickly and steadily. After a moment, he walked into the family hall. Clan leader, the old ancestor's Zhirui has passed away. Li Zhirui was stunned when he heard this. The tool in his hand fell. And a bill that he had worked hard to calculate was stained. But now he could not care about these things. After a long time, Li Zhirui sighed heavily and said in a deep voice, "Notify all the elders to see her off." Because Li Zhirui had no offspring, it was not appropriate to hold a grand funeral, so the elders had to come forward. By the way, Wenli, go and see if the old ancestor's hero is still in retreat, Li Zhirui reminded. If he is, don't disturb him. If he is out of retreat, tell him about this. Li Wenli, a young clan member with a steady temperament, was highly valued by Li Zhirui. If he could break through the golden elixir, Li Zhirui would recommend him to be the next clan leader. Yes, Li Wenli responded and left. Chapter 646 Forgotten. At this time, Li Zhirui did not know the news of Li Zhirui's death. He was still practicing, refining pills and comprehending the recipe of pills. Zhang Fengwu came out of retreat. Hearing Li Wenli's words, he sighed and said, "Zhirui is still in retreat. I, as his sister-in-law, will go in his place." Li Zhirui's funeral was not grand and was even completed quietly. And because there was no body of her, only a cenotaph could be built. The long inscription recorded her life story. Of course, the content was beautified. After all, there will be younger generations coming to pay tribute in the future, and we can't let them see the bad side of the ancestor, right? It was not until more than half a year after the funeral that Li Zhirui came out of the quiet room. "You have been in retreat for such a long time this time, and you haven't broken through to the late stage of the nascent soul," Zhang Fengwu, sitting in the pavilion, asked in surprise. "How can it be that easy?" Li Zhirui shook his head. He estimated that it would be about the same in another 10 or 20 years. Is this a long time? For mortals, 1/3 of their lives may have passed, but for him, it was just a blink of an eye. But if there is any chance, it should be earlier. Why? "What do you want to say?" Li Zhirui asked Zhang Fengwu when he saw her hesitation. "Zhirui passed away half a year ago." Li Zhirui was struck by lightning and staggered. He had always expected that Li Zhirui could get spiritual objects such as Ganoderma lucidum and continue her immortal journey. But when he heard about her again, it was such bad news. A month ago, Zhirui's two spirit beasts sent her body back to Banyan Island. Zhang Fengwu hurried forward to support Li Zhirui. She is also practicing the Wanling Sutra now, so of course she knows how to cancel the contract. When she saw the two spirit beasts before, she was filled with emotion. Before Li Zhirui died, she had to suffer the pain of tearing the origin of her soul, just to let the two spirit beasts survive. Where is Zhirui's body? Where are they? After a long time, Li Zhirui found his voice and asked in pain. The body has been buried, and the two spirit beasts left after the funeral. What were they going to do? Most likely to avenge Li Zhirui. Even though they knew they were no match for the 4th level puppet, they were so full of hatred that they could not care about anything else. They only wanted to take revenge, even if it meant dying. Forget it, Li Zhirui originally wanted them to stay in the family and live a peaceful life, but since they had made their own choice, he could only respect it. "I want to go see Zhirui's grave alone." After saying that, he slowly walked towards the family graveyard. It was a small hill, and there was no sound of insects or birds. It was extremely quiet, with nearly 1,000 tombstones erected on it. Each tombstone represented a member of the clan, some of whom were buried with ashes, and some only had clothes, but there was definitely no corpse. Because the spiritual energy on Wongsan Island was rich, if the corpse was buried, it might turn into a zombie in a few decades. Not only that, mortals on the island were not allowed to bury corpses. Li Zhirui stood in front of a brand new tombstone for a long time, and left without saying a word. I haven't come to pay homage to you, second grandpa. For many years. A few steps up, it is the tomb of Li Shiking, Li Shilin and other elders. When they were buried, Li Zhirui was seriously injured and could not attend. He paid homage once afterwards, but since then, he has never come again. At first, he was afraid of being reminded of the past, so he didn't dare to come, but gradually, he forgot. Time is really the greatest and most terrible thing. Looking at these tombstones that have a sense of age, Li Zhirui wiped them clean one by one with his heart. Unknowingly, he was in tears. Second grandpa, don't worry, the family is doing well now, and its strength has improved a lot, do you know? Zhixun has also broken through the nascent soul, and has become the successor of a god-transforming ancestor, the heavenly spiritual root that you were thinking about at the beginning. The family also has. He talked to himself for a long time, until the sun set in the west and the sunset filled the sky, and then he left the cemetery. Are you okay? Zhang Fengwu saw Li Zhirui's eyes were red and his face was full of worry. Don't worry, I'm fine. He was really fine. As a nascent soul cultivator, it goes without saying how strong his willpower is. Indulging himself for half a day was enough to digest. In the following days, Li Zhirui resumed his daily life before the retreat. He focused on guiding Li Chengsheng and the other two, hoping that they could make further progress before the opening of the 10,000 Immortal Secret Realm. Even if they couldn't do it, it would be good if their strength could increase a little. Of course, in addition to them, Li Zhirui also instructed other juniors from time to time, hoping that they could go further and better. A few years later, Li Chengsheng's hard work finally paid off, and he was about to break through the late Jinden stage. Is Shender's cultivation speed too fast? Zhang Fengwu asked a little uneasily. Li Zhirui shook his head and said, it's a little fast, but it's not a big problem. Shender's foundation laid before is solid and heavy enough, and it will not affect his future cultivation. How could he joke about his son's path? Even after getting a positive answer, Zhang Fengwu's worries did not diminish. She kept an eye on Li Chengsheng's retreat room. It was not until half a month later that she was completely relieved when she heard a powerful aura coming from the room, swallowing and exhaling the spiritual energy in the spiritual realm. Do you believe me now? Li Zhirui smiled. Zhang Fengwu rolled her eyes at him and was too lazy to respond. More than a month later, the wooden door of the quiet room was opened, and Li Chengsheng, who had consolidated his realm, walked out with big strides. His face, which had always been expressionless, now had a little more brilliant smile. Of course he was happy. You know, Li Chengsheng is only 200 years old now, but he is already in the late Jinden stage. He has more than 300 years to pursue the nascent soul. Although it is not that the longer the time, the greater the hope, not to mention that he has a pair of nascent soul parents who can get some key guidance. Dad, Mom, the child has not let you down, Li Chengsheng said loudly. Good, good, good. You did a great job. Li Zhirui and Zhang Fengwu were very happy and encouraged him to keep up the good work and use the remaining years to strengthen his own strength. Although Li Chengsheng performed very well, Li Zhirui, who had been to the mysterious land of 10,000 immortals, said that there were many people who were stronger than him. So he must not slack off. My brother succeeded in breaking through, but I don't know when I can do it. Li Chengsheng was a little depressed and confused. She was really working very hard during this period, but she still felt that she was a long way from breaking through the late Jinden stage, so she felt confused and didn't know what to do. Chapter 647 Analysis. During a sermon, Li Zhirui saw Li Chengsheng's confusion and explained, the most taboo thing in cultivation is to force it, and relax your mind and move forward steadily. Forced, it is easy to have obsessions. This is a taboo for cultivators. If it turns into a demon in the heart, it will do more harm than good. Even if there is no breakthrough, doesn't the gain from these years of cultivation belong to me? The younger Li Zhangxin seemed more stable in this regard, and did not have other thoughts because of his stagnant realm. There are still a few years before the secret realm opens. Just do your best. Li Zhirui encouraged Li Chengshuo and Li Xiangxin. He also said to Li Chengshin, Shenzhe, since you have broken through, go out and practice magic in the next period of time. After all, the secret realm is not safe. Because of the special rules of the 10,000 Immortal Secret Realm, it is not allowed to use spiritual objects above the 3rd level, so when the external objects are not too different, one's own strength is the key to victory. Moreover, compared with other cultivators, Li Shengsheng has a great advantage, that is, the 3 spirit beasts he contracted. Except for the last Yangli firebird, Chao Yongwu and Li Heroke have already broken through the 3rd level and can provide him with powerful assistance. Yes, Li Chengsheng followed Li Zhirui out of the spirit realm, and then found a remote and uninhabited place to hone his magical powers and spells. Li Chengshuo and Li Xiangxin continued to stay in the spirit realm, breathing in and out spiritual energy, and practicing hard. Spring goes and autumn comes, and another year has passed in the blink of an eye. At this time, there are still 6 or 7 years before the opening of the 10,000 Immortal Secret Realm. This day is the time for preaching this year. The 3 of them had just sat down when Li Chengshuo suddenly spoke and said, Dad, I think I may not be able to break through in the next few years, so I want to leave the spirit realm and go to the outside world to train myself and improve my combat power. Have you decided? Then come with me later. She is already an adult, and she has her own ideas about what to do and what to do. As long as it does not violate the clan rules, she can do anything. Li Zhirui looked at the young man beside him and asked, Xiangxin, what are your plans? In reply to the old ancestor, I want to continue to practice in the spiritual realm. He felt that in a few years, he would be able to break through. Li Zhirui nodded gently. With his vision, he could naturally see Li Xiangxin's situation, but he didn't say much, and said, Everyone sit down first, and wait until the Tao is finished. An hour later, the Tao sound dissipated. After a while, Li Chengshuo opened his eyes first, and soon, Li Xiangxin also woke up from the Tao realm. Practice well. This is this year's elixir. 10 jade bottles with a bright color were delivered to Li Xiangxin. The reason why there are only 10 bottles instead of 12 bottles is that the mana obtained by refining the elixir is not as pure and condensed as the one he swallowed with great effort. The remaining 2 months are time for him to polish his mana. Then he said to Li Chengshuo, Come out with me. When I entered the 10,000 Immortal Secret Realm, I was only in the middle stage of the Golden Core, but the late stage of the Golden Core, who is stronger than me, has the highest mortality rate. Li Zhirui said meaningfully, Sometimes, a higher realm is not a good thing. Generally speaking, a higher realm means stronger strength. In the secret realm, such people are the most feared, excluded and targeted. Of course, those with extraordinary strength are not included. Even if Li Chengshuo breaks through in the next 1 or 2 years, will his strength be greatly improved? It is better to maintain the status quo, not attract attention, and develop secretly. Practice well. After saying that, Li Zhirui left. On this day, Li Darren came to report excitedly. Ancestor, there is news about the 4th level solar spirit object you asked for a few years ago. When Li Chengsheng brought the body of the fire dragon home, Li Zhirui asked the family to issue a reward in his name, but over the years, no matching spirit object was found. Now there is finally a glimmer of hope. What does that person want? Speaking of which, this matter is not Li Zhirui's personal matter, because the dragon corpse was handed over to the family to cultivate fire-attributed dragon beasts, just to avoid causing trouble, and use his name to deal with it. That person wants 10 copies of Jinden and Jinden Enlightenment. Li Darren hesitated. The conditions offered by that person were not excessive. Although the value was slightly exceeded, it was also within the normal range. If it was not related to Jinden, he would have convened the elders' meeting to decide. After all, Jinden Enlightenment is very precious to foundation-building cultivators, but for the Li family, it is just that. The Sutra Pavilion has already collected dozens of Jinden Enlightenment. Because strictly speaking, Jinden is not owned by the family, but created by Li Zhirui, so it is necessary to ask his opinion. As for why not just kill people to seize the treasure? Because the spiritual object is not in his hands, he can't get it by killing him. Moreover, that person was very smart. In front of many casual cultivators, he said that he had the 4th level solar spiritual object that the Li family wanted, and he also took out a photo stone, which recorded the picture of him and a solar flowing flame crystal stone. Once he died for no reason, there would definitely be a lot of rumors about the Li family. If someone took the opportunity to stir up trouble, the reputation of the Li family among casual cultivators would be ruined. The one who got the spiritual object is a foundation-building cultivator. Li Zhirui raised his eyebrows and asked, "How could that person be so lucky? He got a precious 4th-level spiritual object." "Yes, but his true identity is still under investigation by the family." Li Zhirui pondered for a moment and said, "In that case, let's wait until the results of the investigation come out." He felt in his heart that this matter was not as simple as it seemed on the surface. "Then I'll take my leave. I'll let someone inform the ancestor as soon as there is a result." A few days later, Li Wenli came to visit. Wenli greets the ancestor. This was not the first time Li Zhirui had met him, so he stopped being polite and asked directly, "Have you found out?" To answer the ancestor, the man's name is Zhang Hong, and he is the son-in-law of the Yumu Mountain Jinden Zhou family. The sun-flowing flame crystal he obtained is the Zhou family's treasure, Li Wenli explained in detail. It is said that the Zhou family gave birth to a 3rd-level alchemy master a few years ago. The clan leader guessed that they might want to use these 10 sets of elixirs to analyze your ancestors' Jinden. The Yumu Mountain Zhou family is a vassal under the command of the Li family. They have performed well in the past, but I didn't expect that they still have such a wishful thinking. How? After listening to this, Li Zhirui couldn't help but sneer and said, "In that case, let me see if the Zhou family's alchemy master has this ability." "Does the ancestor agree to this deal?" Li Wenli asked calmly. "Yes, Wenli knows, and will report to the clan leader now." After saying that, he bowed his head and stepped back a few steps before turning around. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 648 Test. He has a serious and steady personality, and he is a conservative person. Li Zhirui looked at his departing back and commented softly. But it's okay this way. After all, the Li family will not make any big moves for a long time to come. Li Zhirui has no hope of becoming a god in a short period of time. Even if the family gave birth to several more Yuanying in this period, it can only deter the vassal forces more, and it can't change the pattern of the Far East. After all, whether it is the Xuanbing sect, or the Qingxuan sect and the Fire Demon sect in the West, they are all Yuanying forces with many years of experience. There are dozens of Yuanying in the open, not to mention those hidden in secret. If they were not afraid of hostile forces and bound their hands and feet, the Li family would never have such a good external environment. As for the Shuling sect and Wu Aishan in the south, their strength is not as good as the Li family, but it is not an easy task to take them down. In addition, in order to resist the Li family, they have already signed an offensive and defensive alliance, which makes it even more difficult. Moreover, the Li family's territory is already large enough. If the territories of these two families are taken, it is very likely that indigestion will occur, and the gains will not outweigh the losses. Therefore, in the next 100 or 200 years, the Li family mainly focused on accumulating internal strength and settling down. Therefore, a patriarch who is conservative and moderate is needed to ensure that the family's direction of progress will not deviate. Li Wenli is a very good candidate, but the premise is that he can break through the golden elixir, otherwise he is destined to miss the position of patriarch. After Li Daran got the answer, he immediately arranged for the clan members to trade with a foundation-building cultivator named Zhang Hong. Soon, both parties got what they wanted and left. As soon as they left the inn, a lot of eyes fell on the two of them intentionally or unintentionally. The clan member looked normal, obviously knowing about this a long time ago, and said to Zhang Hong with a smile, "Dao Arao, be careful." Zhang Hong had cheated the Li family once, and today is the Li family's thank you gift. Without looking at Zhang Hong's ugly face, the clan member left directly. On the territory of the Li family, is there anyone who dares to attack him? Zhang Hong turned back to the inn and opened a room. As soon as the door was closed, he hurriedly used the communication talisman to contact the Zhou family cultivator. "Father-in-law, what should I do next? There must be a lot of cultivators staring at me now, wanting to seize the Jinden in my hand." "Don't worry, the family has already made arrangements, you just have to wait patiently. The method is also very simple. When the collision occurs in the corridor, the Jinden is transferred to another person's hand, and he takes the spirit stone and rents a cave in the market, pretending to be in seclusion and breaking through. After a long time, Naturally no one will attack him again. But they don't know that their every move has not escaped the surveillance of the Li family. However, the tribe member took the sun-flowing flame crystal stone and quickly returned to the tribe and handed it over to the tribe leader Li Zhirui. Ancestor, the spiritual object is in hand, and he strode to Li Zhirui with a jade box in his hand. He waved his hand casually, and then took the jade box in front of him. He scanned it with his spiritual sense, nodded with satisfaction, and said, "Good quality, ancestor, do you want to teach the Zhou family a lesson?" Li Zhirui hesitated for a while and said, "What if they analyze the elixir formula?" "Don't worry, the difficulty of refining the two kinds of spiritual seeds is not simple, and I also used an original method of sealing the elixir. As long as there is a little damage, the elixir will become a waste elixir. Any alchemy master will create his own method of sealing the elixir. The purpose is to prevent others from analyzing the elixir he has created with great effort. And Li Zhirui has put a lot of effort in this matter. Therefore, he didn't take it to heart at all. Let alone a third-level alchemist. Even if a fourth-level alchemist took action, it would take hundreds of elixir to crack it. The Zhou family was destined to gain nothing. If they didn't wake up in time and still wanted to analyze the two kinds of elixir, they might not be able to keep a single elixir in the end. And the fact is indeed so. On Yumu Mountain, the third-rank alchemist who was highly expected by the Zhou family was sweating profusely. His eyes were red as if he was possessed, staring at the shining pill in front of him. Plop! But after only half a quarter of an hour, he collapsed powerlessly, repeating over and over again, "Too difficult. It's impossible to analyze it." The only thing to be thankful for was that he did not waste all the elixirs. Just the third one made him realize how huge the gap was between him and Li Zhirui. Although he was unwilling, his reason still made him stop. Time passed day by day, and in a blink of an eye, it was 5 years later, and the day when the 10,000 Immortals' secret realm was open was getting closer and closer. Before leaving, Li Zhirui planned to test their strength personally. However, at this time, Li Zhirui had a feeling of cultivation and was in seclusion to break through the middle stage of the golden core, so only Li Chengsheng and Li Changshuo participated. "You can use all means to attack me. Of course, those life-saving means that have a certain number of uses should not be wasted here." Li Zhirui looked at the two people in front of him and said, "Who will go first?" "I will go first." Li Chengsheng strode out and said in a deep voice, "Dad, I'm sorry, it's not a big deal, let's do it." Li Chengsheng summoned 3 spirit beasts, spewing out spirit fire, and he himself blessed the spirit fire, making it more powerful, and attacked Li Zhirui overwhelmingly. Li Zhirui, who suppressed his cultivation to the late Jindan, quickly pinched out the magic formula with both hands, and heavy rain came in an instant. This was not an ordinary rain. It was mixed with his magic power, constantly weakening the power of the spirit fire. The magic formula in his hands suddenly changed, and the rain in his hands changed into thousands of forms, either a long sword, a broadsword, or a giant hammer. Each weapon corresponds to a spirit fire, not allowing them to move forward at all. Li Zhirui looked at Li Chengsheng, who was almost defenseless in the back, and shook his head secretly. His figure flashed, and when he reappeared, there was already a spiritual sword against his back. "Good at attacking, but not enough at defense." Li Zhirui shook his head and commented, "If you meet a cultivator who is proficient in escaping and hiding, you may be taken down in one encounter, and your cooperation with the spirit beasts is really too poor. You must make good use of the advantages of the spirit beasts, carry them forward, and then use them to create your own fighting style." Seeing that Li Chengsheng was thoughtful and obviously listened to him, Li Zhirui was quite satisfied and said, "Sure, you come." Li Chengshuo's performance was not much better. He just absorbed the lessons of the former and cast a defensive spell on himself at the beginning. But in Li Zhirui's eyes, there were still many loopholes. Of course, it was not that they were too bad. After all, both of them had been trained outside for many years. It was entirely because Li Zhirui's requirements were too high. Chapter 649 Departure. Li Zhirui hoped that their strength was strong enough, because only in this way could they ensure their own safety and even protect others in the mysterious realm of 10,000 immortals. "In the next year, I will always accompany you to hone yourself, and any problems can be corrected in time." Speaking of training, Li Zhirui would never show mercy because of their identities. After each battle, the brother and sister were covered with the wounds and looked very embarrassed. At first, Zhang Fengwu would come to watch the battle, but after seeing the two brothers and sisters so miserable, she never came again. She knew that this was for their own good, so she couldn't say anything to stop them, but she felt distressed, so she could only turn a blind eye. Although the two brothers and sisters looked very miserable, they were actually just flesh wounds. With the help of healing elixirs, they could recover after a day or two of rest. Moreover, Li Chengsheng and Li Changshuo were not stupid people. Every time they fought, they could learn from the experience and lessons and strengthen themselves. As time went on, the two of them persisted longer and longer under Li Zhirui's offensive. When Li Xiangxin broke through the middle stage of the golden core and joined in, they could already persist for half an hour. Xiangxin, the Taiyi Zunfang Daojingyu practice is mainly about change, dexterity, and unpredictable changes. Don't just pursue sharpness and attack. In order to better understand Li Xiangxin's situation, Li Zhirui prolonged the battle time in the first contest. After all, he had never practiced as Zunfang Daojing and was not as familiar with it as the Wanling Sutra and could quickly find out the problem. Thank you for your guidance, ancestor. Li Xiangxin nodded thoughtfully, and inspiration emerged in his mind. He was afraid that he had really misunderstood before. Li Zhirui was naturally very satisfied with Li Chengsheng and the other two. Not only did they have good character, but they also had good comprehension. They could understand what he said and could quickly modify and implement it. After a year of hard training, the strength of the three people has improved significantly. Coupled with the various spiritual objects prepared by the family for them, even in the Wangxin secret realm where there are many masters, they have a self-protection power. At this time, there are still more than 3 years before the secret realm is opened. However, because Banyan Island is too far away from the secret realm, in order to avoid accidents and ensure that the three people will not miss each other, Li Zhirui decided to leave in advance. Why don't I take them to the central region? Zhang Fengwu suggested. The reason why she said this is that she didn't want to delay Li Zhirui's cultivation. After all, it would take 2 or 3 years to go back and forth. In addition to their early departure and the time in the secret realm, the next time they meet again may be 5 years later. During this period, it is often inconvenient to practice, which will once again delay Li Zhirui's breakthrough to the late nascent soul stage. It doesn't matter, it will actually only delay it for a few years. Li Zhirui shook his head and rejected Zhang Fengwu's proposal. First, because her strength is relatively poor, if she encounters danger, she will definitely not be as confident as him to deal with it. Second, because her contracted spirit beast Fengpeng is impacting the 4th level, how can she not be with her at this critical moment? In addition, only Zhang Fengwu can exert the greatest power of the island protection formation on Wangxin Island. If she is not there, the power of the family's formation masters will be much worse even if they have formation plates. By the way, Daking will not go out with me this time. If you have anything, you can go to him, Li Zhirui reminded. Daking likes to be quiet and does not like to move. In addition, his Taoist partner Mu Linger is pregnant, so it is even more impossible for him to leave Wangxin Island. Speaking of which, this is the second child of her and Daking. The first batch of spirit turtles were born when she just arrived at Wangxin Island. Most of them have signed contracts with the tribesmen. In the past few years, in order not to consume magic power and hurt the foundation, even if she was pregnant, she did not consider giving birth. What's more, Daking at that time was only a 3rd grade spirit turtle with a low bloodline, and the offspring born would also be 3rd grade. Mu Linger did not want to see her child stop at the 3rd level. At the same time, in order to break through the 4th level as soon as possible, she handed over a wisp of soul to Li Zhirui, and her life and death were restricted by others from then on. But in return, she got a lot of resources to speed up her growth. I know, don't worry, her husband and a pair of children are about to go out and embark on a dangerous road. If something unexpected happens, the consequences are really unimaginable. How can Zhang Fengwu rest assured? Li Zhirui saw her full of worries and said with a smile, don't you know my strength? Unless the old ancestor of the spirit transformation personally takes action, ordinary nascent soul cultivators can't stop me at all. I know, but you are not alone on this trip. There are Shenzhou and others. To put it bluntly, if they really encounter danger, the 3 of them will be a complete burden, almost of no help, and will drag Li Zhirui down. Isn't Zhaoking still here? His speed is so fast that even I can't catch up. If we really encounter danger, let him take Shenzhou and others to escape, and then we can reunite, Li Zhirui comforted. If this doesn't work, then just knock them out and put them in space, and he won't be bound by anything. Of course, this idea can't be said. But, okay, We have to set off early tomorrow morning, so rest early tonight." After saying that, he pressed Zhang Fengwu under him. For a while, the spring pool was surging, and the clouds and rain were lingering. The next morning, Li Zhirui and Li Chengsheng stood on one side, and on the other side were family leaders such as Zhang Fengwu, Daking and Li Darren. "Darren, if you encounter any problems that you can't solve while I'm away from the family, you can go to Fengwu or Daking," Li Zhirui said solemnly. "The family is in your hands, don't worry, ancestor, I will guard the house and wait for you to come back." Li Darren immediately felt a huge pressure coming at him. Although he has been the patriarch for many years, during this period, Li Zhirui has been sitting in Banyan Island to guard the rear for him. If he encounters any problems, he can also seek help as soon as possible. This is the first time that Li Zhirui has been away for several years. There is nothing much to say to Zhang Fengwu and Daking, because everything that should be said has been said before. "Check, have you brought all the spiritual objects?" Li Zhirui turned around and asked. "Okay," the three responded in unison. "Then let's go." Li Zhirui was the first to board the spiritual ship, and the three hurriedly followed. "Go back. We will be back in a few years." Before the voice faded, he activated the spirit ship, and in an instant, it was like a rainbow light that cut through the sky, and in the blink of an eye, it flew several miles away. But in a moment, the shadow of the spirit ship could not be seen. "Let's go. Brother Jiu and the others have already flown far away." Daking saw that everyone was still standing there, and reminded them. Chapter 650 Ambush. In order to avoid unnecessary trouble, Li Zhirui planned a route that was full of immortal cultivation forces. Although it would be a little detour, it was at least safer than passing through the demon realm. However, if you want to enter the central region, you can't avoid the demonic forces. After all, the central region is surrounded by the demonic forces to prevent cultivators from entering the central region on a large scale. And this is also the first test for many cultivators who want to enter the 10,000 Immortals secret realm. At the beginning, Li Zhirui went to the central region alone. Whenever he encountered something wrong, he would hide in the space directly. Therefore, he did not encounter any danger along the way and passed through safely. But now it is different. He is also with Li Chengsheng and the other three. Under normal circumstances, it is impossible to use this method, so he can only find a way to get through. At the beginning, the journey was calm and peaceful, and I even had the mind to appreciate the scenery, because everyone was a cultivator force, and they must have a righteous style on the surface. Not to mention that there are two Yuanying sitting on Li Zhirui's spirit ship. If they really want to take action, it is not necessarily possible to take them down. Moreover, they deliberately avoided gathering places such as mountain gates and market towns. When the local forces noticed, Li Zhirui had already left on the spirit ship. But they never expected that they would meet several cultivators in the remote wilderness. There were also two Yuanying, but the number of giant and cultivators was slightly more, 6 people. "Dao, are you also taking the juniors to the central region to participate in the Stone Tower trial?" The younger Yuanying smiled and greeted, saying, "Not far ahead is a demon sect. Why don't you and I join forces and break through together? What do you think, Dao?" Li Zhirui thought about it seriously. This is indeed a good idea. There is strength in numbers. But the problem is that they've just met and there is no trust between each other. If they join forces to do such a dangerous thing, if they are betrayed, the end will definitely be very bad. Considering this, Li Zhirui smiled and refused for the sake of caution, saying, "Thank you for your appreciation, but I am weak, so I won't trouble you. Since you don't want to, forget it." The man looked at him deeply. He seemed to be only in the middle stage of the nascent soul, but he gave him great pressure. How bad could his strength be? "Farewell, see you in the secret realm." After saying that, he left in a chic manner. "Let's go too." Li Zhirui thought for a moment and quietly changed direction. This time, they didn't encounter any cultivators, but after running for a few days, they had already reached the edge of the demonic forces. "Dad, how are we going to get there?" Li Chengsheng frowned and asked. She could imagine how many demonic cultivators were lurking in a corner, waiting for them to fall into the trap. Be careful to avoid it. If it doesn't work, then do it. Li Zhirui's method was simple and crude. As long as he didn't fall into the trap set by the demonic forces, he had nothing to worry about. Rest for a few days. Once you enter the demonic realm, the three of you will take turns to drive the spirit ship and increase the speed to the fastest. As long as I don't stop you, You will ignore everything and rush west. Why do they have to drive the spirit ship? Because this will allow Li Zhirui and Zhaoking to concentrate on dealing with dangers that may arise at any time. Got it, the three of them replied with a serious look. At the same time, it is also used to collect intelligence. The difference between passing through a terrifying demonic lair and choosing a mediocre demonic force is very huge. Time passed quickly, and after a few days of breathing adjustment, Li Zhirui and his party had restored their own state to perfection. They also collected more detailed information, knowing which demonic force nearby was the weakest, and how to quickly pass through and enter the central region. On this day, the weather was clear, with no clouds in the sky and a wide view. The group came to the territory of a sect called the Jade Demon Sect. Li Zhirui's powerful spiritual sense swept through to ensure that there was no ambush nearby, and then said in a deep voice, "Let's go." With a whoosh, the spirit ship was like an arrow shot from a bow, and it went straight into the territory of the demon path. Li Zhirui stood at the bow, his magic power ready to use, and he could directly use magic as long as he found an ambush. Zhaoking stood on the mast, with a pair of eagle eyes scanning back and forth, alert in three directions. Hey! There are cultivators coming straight to me, they are tired of living. A man in black suddenly flew out from the front, and with a wave of his hand, he summoned several huge monster skeletons, and they all attacked the spirit ship. Li Zhirui reacted very quickly, and immediately threw out the 4th level vine seed in his hand, and the magic formula was used. Giant vines took shape in an instant, tightly entangled with the skeletons. The spirit ship rushed directly through the encirclement. Boom! The bright red flowers blooming on the vines are actually powerful bombs. Many cultivators who see it for the first time don't know much about it, so it often has an unexpected surprise effect. Because this spell is relatively rare, few cultivators practice it, so naturally fewer people know about it. After all, wood magic is notoriously weak in attack power, even worse than water magic. At least it can also freeze ice to attack, and its lethality is not bad. As a result, most cultivators with wood spiritual roots choose spells of other spiritual roots. I'm going to kill you. When the smoke and dust dissipated, the demon cultivator saw that the skeleton he had worked hard to refine had become bumpy, and his anger was so great that he actually chased after him. Li Zhirui frowned when he saw this scene. It seemed that he had been a little too heavy-handed and destroyed his skeleton. He casually summoned a large piece of vines to entangle the person, and then quickly intertwined to form a cage to trap the demon cultivator. Although he could not hold out for long, by the time he rushed out, the spirit ship had long disappeared. Why didn't he kill the demon cultivator? If it was somewhere else, Li Zhirui would definitely do so, but the problem was that they were now in the demon cultivator's lair. A few more Yuaning demon cultivators could appear at any time, and it would take at least an hour to deal with the other party. By then, I'm afraid that all the Yuaning demon cultivators of the entire force would come. What's more, he brought Li Chengsheng and 3 golden elixirs with him. If they really fought, they would definitely be restrained. In addition, the main task of this trip was to escort the 3 people into the 10,000 Immortals' secret realm, and other things could be postponed. Next, Li Zhirui and his party encountered several ambushing demon cultivators, but they were all entangled by the powerful Li Zhirui, and then the spirit ship was driven to throw them away. It's also funny to say that even the demon cultivators have no trust in their fellow disciples, and they will even be more wary of each other, so the ambush they encountered was only one Yuaning demon cultivator. If they could concentrate their strength and join hands to ambush, then Li Zhirui and his party would be in danger. But if that's the case, then he's not a demon cultivator. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone, see you in the next video.